Hostage, Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang, you are only seeking your own death by doing this. Nangong Aochen forcibly suppressed the horror in his heart. He couldn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang still had such power. If Bailey Hongzhuang had exploded with such power before, he would not have been Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent at all. I, Bailey Hongzhuang, have never been in the business of losing. If I am going to die, I must take someone with me. Burying a crown prince with me should be considered good. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold, and a pill appeared in her hands. She immediately stuffed it into Nangong Aochen's mouth. Gudong, one Nangong Aochen who was being held hostage, couldn't resist at all. Before he realized it, he had already swallowed the pill. What did you do to me? A look of panic flashed across Nangong Aochen's face. Knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's identity as an alchemist, he was sure that what Bailey Hongzhuang had given him was definitely not a good thing. When you decided to threaten me with the lives of my teammates, you should have also been prepared to bear my wrath. I, Bailey Hongzhuang, have always persevered and will retaliate. As long as I don't die today, the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom will definitely be destroyed by my hands. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was full of unconcealable arrogance and determination. The actions of Qingshao Kingdom's royal family, restraining Xia Jiqing and the others, had touched her bottom line. She couldn't bear it at all. Nangong Aochen's heart turned cold for no reason. Logically speaking, with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength alone, it would be impossible to have any influence on Qingshao Kingdom's huge royal family. However, he had a hunch that Bailey Hongzhuang really had such power. After smoke and dust dissipated slowly, everyone could clearly see the situation on the competition arena. It's just that when everyone saw the situation, their eyes couldn't help but change a few times. Bailey Hongzhuang actually took Nangong Aochen hostage? How is this possible? Bailey Hongzhuang is already seriously injured. She should not be the match of His Highness the Crown Prince. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang wants to use this method to free the people of Kanglin Academy the Royal Guard's control? When the crowd saw Bailey Hongzhuang's move, they had a feeling of admiration for Bailey Hongzhuang. Never giving up even after knowing that the situation was hopeless. Perhaps she didn't fight so desperately for herself. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang holding Nangong Aochen hostage, Xia Jiqing and the others were amazed. It was hard for them to imagine how Bailey Hongzhuang could do this after being seriously injured. At this moment Bailey Hongzhuang was a well-deserved hero in their hearts. Fuck it, I'm going to fight. Cui Haoyan's eyes were reddened. Bailey Hongzhuang made it this far. They couldn't let her down. The Yuanli and Gong Shaoqing and the others surged in an instant. Maybe their final outcome cannot be changed, but it would be good to cause some damage to the royal family. How is this possible? Nangong Yuer looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. The clothes at Bailey Hongzhuang's ribs were now completely stained red with blood, which showed how serious Bailey Hongzhuang's injury was. However, under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang was able to hold Nangong Aochen hostage, which was really unexpected. It was hard for her to imagine how Bailey Hongzhuang did it. Nangong Yujin also fell into silence, but there was some excitement in his eyes. If Nangong Aochen died, TL/N1 sound effect. Like splash. In this case I think swallow. I'll give you 10 seconds. After seeing this scene, Nangong Oi's usually calm face changed slightly. Jian Qingqiu's expression became extremely ugly. The final of this year's Academy Exchange competition had completely exceeded the scope of his control. He understands the methods of the royal family. The royal family wants to wipe out the Kanglin Academy's team this time. But this is not what he wanted to do. And now that Bailey Hongzhuang has taken Nangong Aochen hostage, the situation has become even more intractable. And he now seems to have lost the right to speak up, and everything is beyond his control. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on Nangong Oi, and everyone gasped once more. Old man, if you want the life of your successor, let them go. Old man? Bailey Hongzhuang actually called Nangong Oi old man? This is really asking to die. Nangong Oi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang indifferently, and the words he said were also full of infinite majesty. Release the prince immediately, otherwise, the students of Kanglin Academy will perish one by one because of your actions. Nangong Oi's eyes rippled with certainty. As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang said the first sentence, he already knew her weakness. If Bailey Hongzhuang had taken Nangong Oui hostage for her own escape, he might have had any choice. However, if Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to protect the safety of everyone in Kanglin Academy, he had more leverage in his hands. A student is a student and they are always too inexperienced. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled softly, and in the next second, the arc of her lips became slightly colder. A dazzling and frightening brilliance bloomed in her pitch-black phoenix eyes. I'm not discussing with you, I'm ordering you. Old guys like Nangong Oui just don't know when to stop. They think they are invincible when they have leverage. However, she is not the kind of idiot Nangong Oui had seen before. I will give you some time to think about it. I will break a tendon in Nangong Ouchen's hand every second. You have 10 seconds. She hasn't done this kind of thing in a long time. However, both Nangong Ouchen and Nangong Oui made her feel sick from the bottom of her heart. She wanted these selfish guys to understand the price they have to pay. As a doctor, she has hundreds of ways to torture Nangong Ouchen. After Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, everyone was stunned. They didn't realize that Bailey Hongzhuang was such a ruthless woman. They couldn't associate such cruel words with the exquisite and perfect person in front of them. However, the trace of seriousness reflected in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows and eyes clearly told everyone that she was not joking. Nangong Oui's face was gloomy. If you dare to do this, I will kill the practitioners of Kanglin Academy. Just after Nangong Oui finished speaking, Nangong Ouchen let out a heartbreaking scream. Not for any other reason than because Bailey Hongzhuang had already broken one of his tendons. Bailey Hongzhuang's move was undoubtedly a slap in the face of Nangong Oui. All these threats were useless against her, because she will make Nangong Oui regret it even more. Ruthless Bailey Hongzhuang. Nangong Ouchen endured the severe pain from his hands and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in horror. He couldn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang actually dared to do this. Doesn't she know that all the control is now in the hands of the royal family? All of Bailey Hongzhuang's actions now are just going to make her end even more miserable. Everyone was shocked by Bailey Hongzhuang's determination and ruthlessness. They had never seen a student who could be so ruthless, which made people panic. Only Mo Yunjua's eyes flashed with excitement. Only such a woman is suitable for him. Such courage and such means are really amazing. Even if he wanted to help Bailey Hongzhuang and her team leave here safely, it would not be easy, but as long as his people came, all these problems would be solved. Before that, however, he also wanted to know what Bailey Hongzhuang planned to do. And Bailey Hongzhuang's current performance was enough to amaze him. 9. Another scream rang out as Bailey Hongzhuang mercilessly cut another tendon of Nangong Ouchen's hand. However, despite Nangong Ouchen's immense pain, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression did not change at all. It was as if this was just a normal thing for her. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Nangong Oui with a light smile. It seems that you don't care much about this prince. After sweeping her gaze across Nangong Oui and Nangong Ouchen, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. That's right, your son is not only Nangong Ouchen. If he dies, it's not a big deal to train another one. How about this? With Bailey Hongzhuang chuckling, all the tendons in Nangong Ouchen's right hand were severed by her. As a doctor, she understands all of these things very well, and she can easily break all the tendons in Nangong Ouchen's hands. For an old man like Nangong Oui, one who claims to be smart, she can only use such tactics to win this game. Under such severe pain, Nangong Ouchen's whole body convulsed. Now Bailey Hongzhuang is like a devil in his eyes. He thinks that he is already very ruthless, but compared to Bailey Hongzhuang, he still feels that there is a big gap between them. Not only Nangong Ouchen, but everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. They couldn't believe that the young Bailey Hongzhuang could do such a thing. It's really amazing. Xia Jiqing and the others were also completely stunned. This whole time they only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was tolerant and easy to get along with, but they had never seen such a Bailey Hongzhuang. Perhaps such ruthlessness would chill others, but they were very touched. The reason why Bailey Hongzhuang did this was entirely on their behalf, because they did not have enough strength. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang would not have fallen into such a situation. At this moment, Nangong Oui could no longer remain calm. He has quite a few sons, but Nangong Ouchen is his most promising heir to the throne. No one else can compare with Nangong Ouchen. This is a loss that the royal family cannot afford. In his opinion, This Bailey Hongshuang is simply a lunatic. It's just that Bailey Hongshuang is a lowlife. If Nangong Aochen loses because of Bailey Hongshuang, it is not a good outcome. TL/N1 text actually says Aochen, but I think the author made a mistake since Aochen isn't old. Seeking death, Mo Yunjue. At this moment, Nangong Yujin was just rejoicing that the person being held hostage by Bailey Hongshuang was not himself. Who would have thought that Nangong Aochen, who was normally always proud, would experience this today? This tactic is really too cruel. Bailey Hongshuang, do you know the consequences of what you are doing? Nangong Oi's gaze fell on Bailey Hongshuang. His eyes were full of anger. As the emperor of Qingshao Kingdom, he was now trying to negotiate with a student. It was simply beyond contemptible. Get to the point. In response to the aura created by Nangong Oi, Bailey Hongshuang only coldly returned these words. The royal family and others just like to say a lot of such nonsense. Doesn't it save a lot of time to just get to the point? Do you really think that you will be able to leave Qingshao Kingdom alive if you hold Nangong Aochen hostage? All your friends will be implicated because of your foolish behavior. Nangong Oi stood up, and the emperor's qi burst out. He will kill Bailey Hongshuang. Master, just now a strong breath locked on us. Xiao He frowned slightly. This breath didn't exist at all before. He thinks this person just appeared. Hearing this, Bailey Hongshuang's phoenix eyes also flashed with a touch of coldness. She saw that the previous Nangong Oi had clearly weakened, so why did he become stronger again at this moment? We don't need you to worry about us. Xia Jiqing said angrily. What kind of emperor of Qingshao Kingdom threatens a group of students? It's really shameless. Nangong Oi's eyes were as sharp as knives, and he looked at Xia Jiqing fiercely. It's just that Xia Jiqing has always been a simple-minded individual. Nangong Oi's eyes can scare others but not her. Xiao He, are you capable of dealing with this person? Bailey Hongshuang asked. As Qingshao Kingdom is a big country, the power of the royal family, needless to say, is bound to have some extremely powerful perverts. Even if Nangong Aochen is in her hands, these old guys will still have a way to rescue Nangong Aochen. This should be an old monster with strong strength. There may be a chance if we join forces with the black and white double evil. Xiao He said solemnly. Bailey Hongshuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. Being able to make Xiao He and Xiao Bai so cautious is enough to prove how abnormal this old guy's strength is. Speaking of which, she still underestimated the shamelessness of Qingshao Kingdom's royal family, otherwise she would have made some preparations earlier, and the situation would not have ended up like this. In that case, it seems we can only fight. Bailey Hongshuang's hands flashed in with a determined radiance. She would never choose to give up. Bailey Hongshuang, die. Nangong Oi looked into mid-air. Now that things have come to a head, they cannot continue to delay, as Nangong Aochen's hand also needed to be treated as soon as possible. At Nangong Oi's words, everyone felt an extremely tyrannical force erupt, followed by a figure who quickly flew towards Bailey Hongshuang with a strong killing intent. Mo Yunjue's eyes froze suddenly, and when this murderous intent appeared, Mo Yunjue's figure also turned into a black light and rushed out. Bailey Hongshuang is the woman Mo Yunjue has his eyes on, and if anyone wants to kill Bailey Hongshuang, they have to get through him first. Seeking death. Mo Yunjue's eyes flashed with a bloodly light. The royal family of Qingshao Kingdom clearly knew the extraordinary relationship between Bailey Hongshuang and him, and still dared to do this. It seems that their power during this period of time has made them forget how much strength they actually have themselves. TL/N1 This sentence actually says, coldly returned these 3 words. But I translated them into 4, but in Chinese it's 3 characters. Who dares to touch my wife? Bailey Hongshuang could only feel a ferocious aura locked onto her, and she couldn't resist with her current strength. However, just as Xiao He and Xiao Bai were about to make a move, someone was already in front of Bailey Hongshuang, blocking. Who dares to touch my wife? A deep and furious voice sounded, revealing the same domineering and decisiveness as before. Just one sentence revealed unspeakable power. Who dares touch her? A cold, chilly voice rang out, filled with a kind of threat and pressure that penetrated deep into the marrow, causing people to feel chills down their backs. These 2 voices sounded almost at the same time, and 2 proud and upright figures, one gold and one black, had already stood in front of Bailey Hongshuang. Boom! The two of them slammed their palms against that person at lightning speed, and everyone only saw a wave of energy rippling away. This kind of powerful strike is much more terrifying than the fight between academy students. Bailey Hongzhuang stared in astonishment at the two figures in front of her. Her exquisite face was full of surprise and disbelief. Di Beichen, the one in a pale gold color, looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. The brutality and anger turned into tenderness and pampering the moment he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. However, when Di Beichen's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's blood-stained clothes, an uncontrollable indignation swept wildly across his heart again. Who did it? The deep and oppressive voice swept through like a boundless storm. He went back to the sect because of an incident and hurried back after solving it. From He Mu's mouth, he learned that Bailey Hongzhuang had come to Qingshao Kingdom to attend the Academy exchange meeting, so he rushed over quickly. The closer he got to the royal arena, the more the uneasiness in his heart intensified. Unexpectedly, there was a royal guard guarding the door, so he rushed in without hesitation. However, when he saw the situation in the martial arts arena clearly, his heart was almost broken. With just a glance from his eyes, Di Beichen already understood what happened. Huan Qiyu and the team from Kanglin Academy were taken hostage unexpectedly, leaving only Bailey Hongzhuang holding the prince hostage to confront Nangong Oui on the martial arts arena. You don't need to think about it to know that Bailey Hongzhuang was forced to do it. These guys from Qingshao Kingdom are so shameless, and the whole country's power was used to deal with the team from Kanglin Academy. Nangong Ouchen's heart shuddered. The power exuded by this man in front of him was almost stronger than his father. He had always felt that his strength is unrivaled among young people. It wasn't until he fought with Bailey Hongzhuang that he realized that this woman younger than him had such tyrannical strength. However, after seeing the man in front of him, he was even more shocked. Because when facing this man, he had a feeling that he couldn't compare with him. This Di Beichen, who the hell is he? A reassured smile appeared on her pale face, and Bailey Hongzhuang, whose body had been tightly wounded, relaxed a little bit after seeing Di Beichen. Although the situation in front of her is still bad, as long as Di Beichen is there, she can feel at ease. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. This matter is a long story, first solve the most immediate problem first. At the same time, Di Beichen's gaze fell on Mo Yunjue. This man's strength shocked him. At such an age with such strength, he is definitely not an ordinary person. TL/N1TL/A. He's back. Chapter 871 Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Dr. Unscrupulous Consort Mo Yunjue was surprised for a moment when he saw Di Beichen appear, but he recovered his indifference in the blink of an eye. Bailey Hongzhuang was in such a dangerous situation. If Di Beichen hadn't appeared, then he was really unqualified to be a husband. The eyes of Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue collided for a moment, and Di Beichen immediately realized that he had a powerful love rival. Mo Yunjue's eyes did not hide his fondness for Bailey Hongzhuang at all, and that faint provocation was unbearable to Di Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang was equally astonished by Mo Yunjue's attack. Mo Yunjue's assistance was rare before, but Mo Yunjue was now hostile towards the royal family for her. This was a totally different notion. The first Tower One was built in the imperial city, and Mo Yunjue angering the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom at this moment was equivalent to a huge loss to himself. At that moment, Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood what Mo Yunjue had done. Mo Yunjue. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. She couldn't say anything other than thank you. However, before Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, Mo Yunjue raised his hand to stop her. What he wanted wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang's gratitude. After seeing the sudden appearance of Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue, all the people present were filled with amazement. At the critical moment, there were two heroes who saved the beauty. The most important thing is that these two young people joined forces to fight against the royal master's palm attack, and they were still unharmed. Isn't that the boss from the first tower? I've heard that Bailey Hongzhuang is Mo Yunjue's wife, and now it seems to be true. No, isn't it the man in the light golden brocade robe who claims that Bailey Hongzhuang is his wife? What's going on? The crowd was completely dumbfounded. Whether it was Di Beichen or Mo Yunjue, taking action at such a time was enough to prove the status of Bailey Hongzhuang in their hearts. But are these two people both Bailey Hongzhuang's husband? Di Beichen's hearing too shifted slightly, and he heard the chatter from the crowd. His eyes flashed a cold light, and he looked at Mo Yunjue again, his expression changing a bit. Damn it! What did this guy do in his absence? Di Beichen was furious. If he knew this would happen, he would have left with Hongshuang, and she would not have fallen into such a situation. Compared to the storm in Di Beichen's heart, Mo Yunjue seemed very calm. However, Di Beichen also knew that now was not the time to dwell on this. It is the Qingshao Kingdom's royal family that was their biggest problem. What's more, he has enough trust in Hongshuang, and believed that it was only Mo Yunjue's one-sided thoughts. When Xia Jiqing and the others saw Di Beichen appear, their eyes couldn't help but show excitement. Di Beichen was the one with the highest level person among all of them. Even though the Qingshao Kingdom was a large country, the strength of the Tiangang sect was even greater. Nangong Oui absolutely did not dare take action against the young master of the Tiangang sect. After Nangong Yuer saw Mo Yunjue and Di Beichen standing in front of Bailey Hongshuang together, intense jealousy engulfed her heart. How dare Bailey Hongshuang have one foot in two boats? Against all reason, these two guys seemed to be willing to do anything for Bailey Hongshuang. Why? What had Bailey Hongshuang done to deserve this? TL/N1 TL/N. Seen back in chapter 677 to 678 2 TL/N. Weird. The word is actually earlobes. Is there such a phrase? Chapter 872 Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Strength is not bad. A deep, hoarse voice sounded, and only then did the crowd notice that at some point an old man stood beside Nangong Oui. The withered old man exuded the aura of dying, but his eyes were unusually bright, not at all like a dying old man. This old man was obviously the one who attacked Bailey Hongshuang earlier. Di Beichen's gaze met Nangong Oui and the others. His handsome and extraordinary face was filled with an extremely glacial coldness. No matter who these guys are, anyone who dares to hurt his wife is his enemy. After Nangong Oui saw Mo Yunjue strike, his calm eyes also fluctuated, revealing his incredulity. He has a certain understanding of how powerful Mo Yunjue is, but the other party is unfathomable, so even he doesn't know anything. He also had some understanding of the fact that Mo Yunjue and Bailey Hongshuang were close, but in his opinion it was just a woman, and Mo Yunjue could not have turned against the royal family for a woman. However, the situation in front of him clearly proved that his belief was wrong. Unexpectedly, this Mo Yunjue turned out to be this infatuated. It was not wise to be an enemy of the royal family for Bailey Hongshuang. In the next second, Nangong Oui's gaze fell on Di Beichen. It was the first time he has seen Di Beichen, but he didn't dare underestimate him. The aura exuded by this young man was astonishing. As the monarch of a country, he knows very well that this kind of aura is not something that ordinary people can have. Only those in high positions can have it. Di Beichen's temperament, power and strength all revealed his exceptional existence. This is definitely a person that cannot be ignored. Who are you? Nangong Oui asked. For a moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Di Beichen. They also wanted to know the identity of this man who suddenly appeared. Di Beichen looked at Nangong Oui indifferently, and opened his thin lips lightly. Tiangang sect, Ding. Tiangang sect. When everyone heard the name Tiangang sect, their eyes were full of shock. That is an extremely powerful force in the Shangxian continent. Anyone who can become a disciple of the Tiangang sect is a real dragon and phoenix among men. The young man in front of him turned out to be a disciple of Tiangang sect. Nangong Oui's pupils shrank. While everyone was shocked by the name Tiangang sect, what shocked him was the name Di Beichen. Di Beichen. He had heard of this name before, but he didn't expect to hear it here today. Di Beichen, the young master of the Tiangang sect, a well-deserved young hero. Although Nangong Ouchen is strong, it is only within the scope of Qingshao Kingdom, and it was not worth mentioning compared with the real geniuses of the Shangxian continent like Di Beichen. An ordinary Kanglin Academy student turned out to be the wife of the young master of the Tiangang sect? What is this? Nangong Oui couldn't believe it. Could it be that today's sects don't have the slightest respect for lineage? Although Bailey Hongshuang's strength is very outstanding, if she wanted to become Di Beichen's wife, she doesn't have the qualifications yet. Nangong Aoi didn't doubt Di Baichen's identity. Di Baichen's demeanor alone proved everything, but it was a bit more than he could have imagined. I'm going to leave with the people from Kanglin Academy now. Chapter 873 Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Dr. Unscrupulous Consort Di Baichen's voice was arrogant and could not be denied. Even when facing the Emperor of Qingshao Kingdom, his attitude was still domineering. Today's situation is not something you can escape. At that moment, the old man with the withered appearance had already opened his mouth. He was very dissatisfied with what Nangong Aoi had caused this time. According to the rules of the royal family, one should not act without absolute certainty. The situation has now deadlocked, and it is impossible to offend Tiangang sect. But if everyone in Kanglin Academy is let go, the reputation of the Qingshao Kingdom's royal family will be dealt a huge blow. Nangong Aoi obviously understood the impact of this incident, but he never thought that Bailey Hongshuang would have anything to do with the young master of Tiangang sect. Oh! The corners of Di Baichen's mouth once again showed an evil smile, but the coldness and chill in his eyes became more and more terrifying. If anything happens to my wife, I will make the entire Qingshao Kingdom be buried with her. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. What is the identity of this Di Baichen? If he is just an ordinary disciple of the Tiangang sect, he would not dare say such a thing. The eyes of the crowd flickered with incredulity. The Qingshao Kingdom is so huge. Even if the Tiangang sect is a bigger existence, it would be impossible to achieve this by relying on Di Baichen alone. Di Bain. This name is so familiar. Where have I heard it? Nangong Yuer kept thinking in her mind. She always felt that she had heard this name before, but for a while she couldn't recall it. Suddenly, Nangong Yuer's eyes froze, and a look of disbelief appeared in her eyes. The young sect master of Tiangang sect, Di Baichen? A feeling of disbelief spread in Nangong Yuer's heart. How could such a superior existence appear here? Bailey Hongshuang turned out to be his wife. How could this be possible? As we all know, Di Baichen, the young master of the Tiangang sect, is Prince Charming in the hearts of all women. How many people had wishful dreams? Even her status is not worthy of Di Baichen. But an ordinary commoner like Bailey Hongshuang can win Di Baichen's heart. Nangong Yuer's voice unconsciously raised a bit as she said this in horror. After hearing Nangong Yuer, the faces of the people who were confused at first changed suddenly, and their puzzled expressions turned into deep horror. The young master of the Tiangang sect. Such a superior existence appeared here unexpectedly. At that moment, no one doubted the weight of Di Baichen's words. With his strength he could destroy the entire Qingshao Kingdom. However, the royal family still dared to say such words. Are they crazy? The old man obviously did not expect Di Baichen's attitude to be so resolute. Just this sentence from Di Baichen was enough to prove the weight of Bailey Hongshuang in his heart. Mo Yunjue also looked at Di Baichen beside him. He was no stranger to Di Baichen. Since long ago, the name Di Baichen has been shrouded in a halo. Not only that, he also understood how Di Baichen ended up with Bailey Hongshuang. In fact, he didn't care about the others, but Di Baichen's vision is indeed good. Is the golden unicorn a thing in a pool? Once the situation changes, Bailey Hongshuang's future will definitely not be limited by a trifling identity. In the future, Bailey Hongshuang will definitely shine like a pearl, and he too will not let go. TL/N1 My guess is this is a saying meaning, can a superior person be limited by its environment? Chapter 874 Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Dr. Unscrupulous Consort Xia Jiqing and the others watched this scene in shock, their eyes filled with amazement. Domineering. Di Baichen is really too domineering. In front of the Emperor of Qingshao Kingdom, no one except Di Baichen would be able to say such a thing. It seemed that since the appearance of Di Baichen, the situation that was originally tense and impossible to solve seemed to be less scary. The woman in white on the competition stage was so domineering and ruthless before, but since the appearance of Di Baichen, her eyes reflected a touch of tenderness. Bailey Hongshuang is their hero, and Di Baichen is Bailey Hongshuang's hero. Nangong Aoi's gaze fell on Bailey Hongshuang's injuries. He understood that the reason why Di Baichen was so anxious at this moment was entirely because of Bailey Hongshuang. It was clear in his heart that no matter what, Bailey Hongshuang could not have an accident today, otherwise, before the huge Tiangang sect, even the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom is nothing. However, in the current situation they really have way out. If Di Beichen and others were allowed to leave like this, even if they completely blocked the news, many people would still know about it. There is no impregnable wall in this world. As the next monarch of Qingshao Kingdom, Nangong Aochen originally wanted to use the Academy Exchange meeting as an opportunity to let everyone know how powerful he was to lay a good foundation for his ascension to the throne. However, now Nangong Aochen was not only defeated by a woman whose strength was 2 levels weaker than him, but even had his tendons broken in public. For Nangong Aochen, this was definitely a great shame. Even Nangong Oui was extremely depressed at that moment. In the past, Kanglin Academy had always been the subject of abuse. Why did Di Beichen's wife stay in the Kanglin Academy to cultivate and participate in the competition on behalf of the Kanglin Academy? It's no wonder that Bailey Hongshuang's previous performance was so amazing. It is impossible for her to be the beloved of Di Beichen if she was not strong. Di Beichen immediately hugged Bailey Hongshuang in his arms, with a careful look at Bailey Hongshuang as if she was a peerless treasure, for fear of accidentally hurting her. All the women present admired Di Beichen after they discovered his identity. Seeing Di Beichen with such a noble identity treating Bailey Hongshuang so tenderly, their envy of Bailey Hongshuang reached an extreme peak. This Bailey Hongshuang is too happy, right? If I could be held in Di Beichen's arms, it would be worth 10 years of my life. I thought that Bailey Hongshuang was extraordinary from the very beginning. Bailey Hongshuang's identity is so extraordinary. The people who originally felt that it was impossible for Bailey Hongshuang to be both a cultivator and a pharmacist, and at the same time be very accomplished in inscriptions, now understood Bailey Hongshuang's identity. Got it. There are always some special geniuses in this world that cannot be compared against ordinary people. Nangong Yuer looked at Bailey Hongshuang, who was held in Di Beichen's arms. Her 5 fingers were tightly closed and her nails were deeply embedded in her palm. She didn't realize it was dripping blood. Drip drip. Blood dripped on the ground. Nangong Yuer had never been so jealous of someone in her life. She had liked Mo Yunjue for so long, but he had always been indifferent towards her. Now Mo Yunjue is taking such good care of Bailey Hongshuang, and she was already married. Could it be that in Mo Yunjue's heart, she can't even compare to a married woman? Chapter 875. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Di Beichen's gaze fell on Nangong Oui and the others. If Qingshao Kingdom really wants to perish, then so be it. After he finished speaking, Di Beichen didn't even look at Nangong Oui and the others, and walked off the competition arena with Bailey Hongshuang in his arms. If a mere Qingshao Kingdom dares to stop him, they will be seeking death. He understood that the attitude of Nangong Oui and others was just to give themselves a way to save face. But he just won't give it. As a strong person, there was no need for him to consider the feelings of the weak. Qingshao Kingdom's royal family dared to treat Bailey Hongshuang like this, which has already aroused his anger, but now Hongshuang's injury is the most important concern. He has to help Hongshuang take care of her injuries first. As for the rest, we'll settle the scores later. As he turned around, Di Beichen's gaze collided with Mo Yunjue's for a moment. He naturally didn't have any good feelings for this man who coveted his wife, but no matter what, this man helped Hongshuang, so he was still grateful. Understanding the meaning in Di Beichen's eyes, Mo Yunjue smiled faintly, and he shrugged indifferently. He clearly understood that his current situation was just taking the opportunity to take care of Bailey Hongshuang when Di Beichen was not around. As for rest, it was not time yet. Nangong Oui and others looked at Di Beichen's domineering behavior, and their expressions became extremely ugly. Indeed, with the strength of Tiangang sect, there was no need to talk to them at all, because strength is everything. After seeing Di Beichen's actions, Huan Qiu also stood up immediately, glanced at Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi with cold eyes, turned around and decided to leave. From now on, Kanglin Academy, Lingyin Academy, and Beihai Academy have no connection at all. Huan Qiu straightened his back, and his words were filled with freedom and spontaneity. He and Ren Tianxiong should have made this decision a long time ago, and now that he has said such a thing, he felt extremely relaxed. When Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi were enjoying all the benefits and glory brought by the royal family, they never realized that they had lost control over their academies. Perhaps this feeling is not clear enough now, but it won't be long before they understand that they are simply puppets. It's a pity that they can't see the forest for the trees. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi stared blankly at Huan Chuyo's leaving back, wanting to say something but couldn't. Faintly, they also felt some hints from the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom's actions this time, but this seems to be a situation that is difficult to change. After Gong Shaoqing and others saw that Huan Chu had gotten up and left, they no longer hesitated. They just wished they could leave this place as soon as possible. In such a greedy place, even the air reeks of decay. After seeing this scene, the royal guards couldn't help but look at Nangong Aoi on the high platform, only to see that Nangong Aoi's face was livid. But he didn't let them stop them. In fact, they don't dare stop them. Isn't that asking for death? When Di Beichen walked out of the royal arena with Bailey Hongshuang in his arms, he realized that the royal guards who were blocking the outside had all been brought down at some point. Seeing this scene, there was a hint of understanding in everyone's eyes. Except for Mo Yunjue, I am afraid that no one else would do such a thing. TL/N1 This is my guess. What does the phrase really mean? Why is the phase sunset in there? Infatuation. Mo Yunjue at that moment. Gong Shaoqing and others also understood that earlier. Mo Yunjue hadn't been inactive. He had been helping everyone by cleaning up the situation outside. Mo Yunjue was willing to make an enemy of the entire royal family of Qingshao Kingdom for Bailey Hongshuang. This alone is enough to prove Mo Yunjue's feelings for Bailey Hongshuang. You go to the inn to stay first, I will go find Fu Hongbo and Dongfang Yu, and I will find you later, Lu Huayan said. Hearing this, everyone's expressions quietly changed a little, but soon returned to normal. Now that Di Beichen was here, even if Qingshao Kingdom's royal family knew where they were, they wouldn't dare do anything to them. They believed that Lu Huayan and others would be fine. After Di Beichen and his group left, Mo Yunjue gave Nangong Aoi a cold, stern look, turned around and walked down the competition stage with indifference. It seems that he never let Nangong Aoi and others know how powerful he was over the years, so Nangong Aoi and others thought that they were great. It was time for him to take action. The royal family clearly knew that he had an extraordinary relationship with Bailey Hongshuang, but they still dared to do this. He has been too low-key. Feeling Mo Yunjue's gaze, Nangong Aoi felt a chill. He had always known that Mo Yunjue was not an ordinary person, except that all this time Mo Yunjue had always acted indifferently, until Bailey Hongshuang appeared. He saw the cold and stern light in Mo Yunjue's eyes, and he suddenly realized that his decision was wrong. He always thought that to Mo Yunjue, Bailey Hongshuang was just a beautiful woman. In this world, women have always been men's accessories. He believed that Mo Yunjue's interest in Bailey Hongshuang was just a passing interest, and this kind of interest usually doesn't last long. It was absolutely impossible for Mo Yunjue to clash with the royal family because of Bailey Hongshuang. Now it seems that things were completely different from what he had imagined. Mo Yunjue's concern for Bailey Hongshuang exceeded his expectations. Bailey Hongshuang was already married to someone else, yet Mo Yunjue was willing to do so much for her. He never knew that Mo Yunjue would be such a devoted suitor. Everyone watched as Mo Yunjue confidently left after making his move. Their expressions also changed slightly. Ever since Di Beichen appeared, all of their attention had been drawn to him. After all, they hardly ever got the chance to see someone like Di Beichen normally. Seeing Mo Yunjue leave so calmly at this moment, they finally realized that Mo Yunjue's identity was not simple. Nangong Yuer's gaze closely followed the tall and slender black figure, but Mo Yunjue never looked at her once. Huan Chuyu and the others returned to the inn where they previously stayed. Bailey Hongshuang's injuries were very severe, with broken ribs, excessive blood loss, and after having confronted Nangong Aochen for so long, the exhaustion was understandable. Di Beichen put Bailey Hongshuang on the bed, and Xia Jiqing and the others immediately went out to help Bailey Hongshuang find a doctor. Although Bailey Hongshuang is a genius doctor herself, it is impossible for her to heal herself in the situation in front of her. After everyone left, only Bailey Hongshuang and Di Beichen were left in the room. Looking at the handsome face in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes glimmered with a hint of joy and happiness. Her delicate and slender fingers slowly covered Di Beichen's face. You came. TL/N1 text actually says Nangong Oe, but she fought Ouchen. Won't leave you looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face. Di Beichen's eyes showed a deep heartache. I'm late. His deep words were filled with guilt and remorse. If he had returned earlier, Hongzhuang would not have been seriously injured. In other words, it was because he hadn't taken good care of Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's right hand covered Di Beichen's tightly furrowed eyebrows, smoothing them out with a gentle smile spreading across her lips. It's my lack of thoroughness. It's not your problem. Don't blame yourself. So far Di Beichen has helped her too many times. Almost every time a problem arises, Di Beichen helped her solve it. She doesn't want to always need the protection of Di Beichen. What she hopes is that one day she can stand confidently by his side, instead of being his weakness. No one expected what happened this time and it had no connection to Di Beichen. She didn't want to see Di Beichen blame himself. As cultivators, everyone understands the risks they may encounter, and this is a perfectly normal thing. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly and nodded slightly, but his eyes were still filled with guilt and heartache. The actions taken by the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom this time may have exceeded everyone's expectations, but he believed that as long as he is by Hongzhuang's side, she will not fall into such a dangerous situation. From now on I won't leave you. Di Beichen's eyes shone with a determined and persistent light. He had already made a decision. No matter what happens in the future, he will never be separated from Bailey Hongzhuang again. Hongzhuang didn't know that when he saw her standing on the competition stage covered in blood, her pale face and pitiful appearance almost made his heart stop. He was so afraid that if he had arrived a little later, Hongzhuang might disappear from his life. That was absolutely unacceptable to him. The offensive sight of blood deeply stabbed his heart. At that time he only felt an indescribable rage and killing intent spread in his heart. If something happens to Hongzhuang, he will definitely let the whole Qingshao Kingdom be buried with him. Bailey Hongzhuang had a gentle and happy smile on her lips. She was already very happy to see Di Beichen back at this time. No matter when, Di Beichen will always be her hero, the only hero. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Bailey Hongzhuang's affection was reflected in her gaze. As a doctor, she had a certain understanding of her injuries. Although her ribs were broken, she didn't hurt her foundation. She appeared extremely weak, because she lost a lot of blood due to the prolonged confrontation in the martial arts arena. Soon, the doctor arrived and was surprised when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries. He quickly began to treat her. It wasn't until Bailey Hongzhuang fell into a deep sleep that Di Beichen walked out of the room. Xia Jiqing and the others were all outside the door. Now that something like this happened, they were all very worried about Bailey Hongzhuang. And when they faced Di Beichen, they felt an unspeakable guilt in their hearts. With so many people in the royal martial arts arena, they still had to rely on the youngest by Li Hongzhang to block all the storms for them, which was really embarrassing and weak. Di Beichen, I'm sorry, we were so useless. Cui Haoyan's eyes were filled with guilt. Bailey Hongzhuang saved his life, but at that time he had no way to help. Ruthless Di Beichen. Not only Cui Haoyan, Gong Shaoqing and others also showed guilt on their faces. Normally, they are very successful in the academy, but since coming to Qingshao Kingdom, they discovered the gap between them and others. In front of this huge royal family, their power seemed so weak. Except for Bailey Hongzhuang's ability to confront Nangong Oe, they were completely under control. If it wasn't for Di Beichen's arrival, perhaps they would have to die today in the royal arena and never come out again. We are truly useless. Hongzhuang was seriously injured, yet she wanted to protect us. Xia Jiqing lowered her head. She knew that Hongzhuang's injuries must be very severe, and with the delay it was very detrimental to Hongzhuang's injuries. Even though she has returned, when she thinks of the scene in the royal arena where they fought, she felt an indescribable anger and hatred in her heart. However, when facing Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, she only felt guilty. Di Beichen looked at the guilty expressions on everyone's faces and his expression softened a bit as he comforted them. This matter has exceeded everyone's expectations. You don't have to blame yourselves. Hearing Di Beichen's reassurance, The guilt in everyone's hearts did not dissipate. Today's scene really had an impact on them. No matter how arrogant they are, only after they have gone to a wider world could they understand the gap between them and those with great power. This huge gap simply cannot be crossed with just their own strength. Noticing the changes in everyone's expressions, Debachin did not say much. They will see the so-called reality sooner or later, and it is not a bad thing to understand it sooner. Once their mindset is completely transformed, their mindset will be more peaceful, and it will be more helpful for future growth. Everyone is already tired today, why don't you go to rest first? Debachin said slowly. After what happened today, everyone was tired both physically and mentally. After Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries improve a little, they will leave. He believed that the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom would immediately block today's news, but their continued stay in Qingshao Kingdom would attract the attention of interested people. Leaving earlier can also save some trouble. Everyone listened and nodded. They had already learned about Bailey Hongzhuang's condition from the doctor, and feared that she would need to rest for a while. Although the injuries were very serious, fortunately it did not hurt her foundation. As long as she was given a certain amount of time, she would be able to recover completely. After everyone left, a deep and fierce light appeared in Debachin's eyes. Nangong Aochin dared to hurt Hongzhuang to such an extent. He naturally couldn't watch Nangong Aochin become the heir to Qingshao Kingdom. Whoever dares to hurt Hongzhuang, he will not let go. It's just that it's still early. Once it is nighttime, he needs to go out to solve some issues. However, just as Debachin returned to the house, Huanqiu came to look for him. Vice Principal. Debachin poured a cup of tea for Huanqiu. Do you have something you need to tell me? Huanqiu looked deeply at Debachin, who has always been a clever person. Debachin's deep love for Bailey Hongzhuang also shocked him. How are Hongzhuang's injuries? Excessive blood loss, broken ribs, and some internal injuries, but they can recover after a period of recuperation, Debachin said slowly. Decision. Debachin's expression was calm and composed. He knew that Huanqiu was here to see him for a reason. It's just that Huanqiu didn't say anything, and he wasn't in a hurry. Huanqiu looked at Debachin's indifferent expression, and there was a gleam of admiration in his eyes. The young master of the Tiangang sect is indeed not an ordinary person. Just his bearing alone is not comparable to that of an ordinary young person. The royal family of the Qingshao Kingdom is heavily guarded. After what happened today, the entire royal family will definitely strengthen their patrols. They may have already set up a trap. Based on Huanqiu's understanding of Debachin would definitely not just stand by and watch Bailey Hongzhuang get hurt without doing anything. And if he could predict that, the royal family would naturally be able to predict it too. Today's events have already made the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom look bad. And now that something like this has happened, the royal family will definitely be more careful. It would be fine if Debachin was with members of the Tiangang sect, but if he went alone, the royal family might do something crazy. As Huanqiu's words fell, Debachin's expression changed slightly. To be able to become the vice principal of Kanglin Academy, Huanqiu's foresight is not ordinary. He understood that Huanqiu's reminder to him at this moment was only for his safety. Needless to say, it is an easy thing to crush the Qingshao Kingdom with the power of the entire Tiangang sect. However, right now he is only one person in Qingshao Kingdom, and it is undoubtedly very difficult for him to deal with the royal family by himself. Huanqiu noticed the change in Debachin's expression, and knew that Debachin listened to his words. Bailey Hongzhuang still needs your care. After Huanqiu left this statement, he left calmly. He had already said everything he needed to say. As for what Debachin would do, it was up to his own decision. When they cross the border of Qingshao Kingdom, everything in Qingshao Kingdom will have nothing to do with them. Risking their lives is unnecessary. After Huanqiu left, Debachin drank all the tea up. Perhaps what Huanqiu said had some truth, but he was Debachin. He absolutely will not allow the person who hurt his wife to live in peace. From the moment they dared to treat Hongzhuang like that, this outcome was already destined. Night gradually descended, and the entire Qingshao Kingdom was shrouded in a layer of darkness. The atmosphere in the imperial city today seems different. All the people in the imperial city were very curious about the final result of the Academy Exchange competition. The Academy Exchange competition they watched 2 days ago was very enjoyable. The strength of the cultivators from the 3 major academies was not to be underestimated. Especially with the emergence of a dark horse like Bailey Hongzhuang from Kanglin Academy. They felt that today's finals was very exciting. Just as they eagerly awaited the final outcome, there was not a single word about the final match. All the people who watched the finals were silent, as if it was a big taboo, so much so that they didn't know anything about the finals. But the more the other party kept silent, the more they realized that there was something fishy going on. After all, previous Academy Exchange matches were not like this. What on earth happened? Everyone kept guessing, but there was no result. Di Beichun checked Bailey Hongzhuang's condition and saw that she was sleeping soundly. His gaze quietly fell out the window. The night was getting dark. Collision between love rivals. Di Beichun covered Bailey Hongzhuang with the quilt and left a soft kiss on her forehead. The next moment, Di Beichun disappeared from the room. Royal Palace. Di Beichun flew swiftly through the night. He had already inquired about the location of the crown prince, and even with the multiple protections on the royal family, he felt as if killing Nangong Aochin would be as easy. However, just when Di Beichun was about to arrive at the prince's bedroom, a black figure appeared not far from him. Seeing this black figure, Di Beichun's eyes became darker and darker. He did not expect to meet Mo Yunjue here. It seems that the purpose of their trip tonight is the same. When Mo Yunjue saw Di Beichun, the surprise in his eyes quickly disappeared, and he immediately revealed a faint smile. It seems that Di Beichun has deep feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang. Even though the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom had lost face to him in front of everyone today, he still did not feel happy. So, he wanted to come and kill Nangong Aochin. As a man, he understands men best. Just by looking at Di Beichun's eyes, he already understood Di Beichun's determination to kill Nangong Aochin. Di Beichun didn't like Mo Yunjue, and he had never seen Mo Yunjue before. But from the moment he saw Mo Yunjue, he knew that Mo Yunjue was not an ordinary person. At the very least, there must be an extremely powerful force behind Mo Yunjue. Otherwise, a mere restaurant owner would not have the courage to confront the royal family. Not to mention, Mo Yunjue also dealt with the royal guards outside. When they left, Mo Yunjue remained in the royal arena, but he came out safe and sound. This alone is enough to prove Mo Yunjue's strength. The two looked at each other, and their hearts were full of turmoil. War between men has always been intense. I am very grateful for your care of Hongzhuang before, but if you have any unreasonable thoughts, I hope you can cut them off. Di Beichun's voice was slightly deep. He saw the persistent light in Mo Yunjue's eyes. All those who have bad intentions against Hongzhuang are his opponents. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue chuckled lightly. Master Di is really domineering. Even if Hongzhuang is already intended for you, you are not worthy of the title husband and wife. Maybe there will be changes in the future, and this situation may change. After all, Han Shilling is not someone who will give up easily. As Mo Yunjue's words fell, Di Beichun's deep, dark eyes filled with a sharp light. Mo Yunjue knew so much about the situation between him and Hongzhuang. So far, he and Hongzhuang only have the name of husband and wife, and no one should know the truth about it except him and Hongzhuang. But Mo Yunjue knew, could it be that Hongzhuang told him? As soon as this idea emerged, it was rejected by Di Beichun. It was impossible for Hongzhuang to talk about it. What's more, based on his understanding of Hongzhuang, she would never deny these things, because she wanted to spend a lifetime with him. In this way, Mo Yunjue's attention to Hongzhuang is not ordinary. That even this kind of thing can be found out shows that Mo Yunjue's methods are very good. This is a matter between me and Hongzhuang, you don't need to worry about it. Di Beichun's voice was cold. He had already spoken to this point. If Mo Yunjue still chose to act this way, then they could only be enemies. Trying to steal a chicken but losing the rice instead. One, if you treat Hongzhuang well, I naturally have no chance, but if you don't, then I won't be polite. Mo Yunjue's eyes seemed to flash a cold light with a hint of a smile. He knew that he was not in Hongshuang's heart now. However, the current situation did not represent the final outcome. From the earlier confrontation between Bailey Hongshuang and Han Xiling at the ruins, it can be seen that if Di Beichen's attitude is not decisive enough in dealing with this matter, the situation may change. He has one advantage, which is that he never gets impatient. Looking at Mo Yunjua's appearance, Di Beichen's eyes narrowed slightly. It seems that he has really encountered a formidable opponent. The other party clearly knew his identity yet still dared to do this. His identity is truly worth investigating. He has to investigate it. After all, Mo Yunjua has investigated his affairs so clearly. Naturally, he also needs to understand. Then I'm afraid you are wasting your time. Di Beichen lazily looked at Mo Yunjua, but his handsome eyes, as deep as the sea, shone with seriousness and determination. He will never allow anyone to step in between Hongshuang and himself. In the next moment, Di Beichen's figure swept past, and continued to move towards the bedroom where Nangong Aochen was located. Now that things have come to this, there is nothing positive to say between him and Mo Yunjua. He will not give Mo Yunjua any chance. Mo Yunjua didn't care, and also swept towards Nangong Aochen's bedroom. Qingshao Kingdom's royal family has gone too far this time, and they should indeed pay a price. This Nangong Aochen's life cannot be kept. Just as Huan Qiu thought, the royal family understood that Di Beichen would not easily leave. They had already protected the place where Nangong Aochen lived. However, what happened next exceeded their expectations. Because Nangong Aochen suddenly had a high fever that could not be controlled, and all the imperial doctors were at a loss after examining him. In a short period of time, Nangong Aochen had already lost consciousness and was confused. His injuries showed no sign of healing at all. After learning about this, Nangong Oui was furious. Nangong Aochen's experience today was a great shame, and after returning, he even became like this. Nangong Oui's mood can be imagined. However, after Nangong Oui knew that Bailey Hongshuang had fed Nangong Aochen a pill, his expression changed a bit. He naturally knew that Bailey Hongshuang was an alchemist, and at such a critical moment, the thing that Bailey Hongshuang fed Nangong Aochen would not be something good. Nangong Oui looked at the imperial physician kneeling on the ground and said furiously, "Hurry and go invite the alchemist. Aochen's current state is definitely caused by Bailey Hongshuang." "Yes." The imperial physician scrambled off the ground as he left. Nangong Aochen's status in Qingshao Kingdom is extremely important. If something happened to Nangong Aochen, I'm afraid their lives would be lost. Nangong Oui's expression was extremely unpleasant. Bailey Hongshuang is an alchemist, and the thing she takes out can only be solved by alchemists. In this academy exchange match, the royal family did make a wrong decision, and now it's truly a case of trying to steal a chicken but losing the rice instead. Nangong Aochen has become like this. Even if he had dealt with it as soon as he came back, his hand tendons were pricked, and it would still very difficult to recover. TL/N1 trying to gain advantage, only ending up worse off. 2 trying to gain advantage, only ending up worse off. Concerned Di Beichen. When Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua came to Nangong Aochen's bedroom, they saw this scene. They didn't know that Bailey Hongshuang had even fed Nangong Aochen a pill. Judging from the helpless situation of these people, they could tell that Bailey Hongshuang's attack was sufficiently ruthless. She had already decided not to let Nangong Aochen go. Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua were both astonished. An ordinary woman would not know how to handle such a situation. However, Bailey Hongshuang not only dealt with it calmly, but even had a solution in mind, which was truly astonishing. After seeing this, a realization shone in Di Beichen's eyes. He understands the medical skills of Hongshuang, but if she had already taken action, then she would surely not let Nangong Aochen be detoxified so easily. It seems that Hongshuang had already thought of everything, and his trip was in vain. Hongshuang is really amazing. We've been outdone. Mo Yunjua's eyes glowed with admiration. Bailey Hongshuang was both smart and brave, showing no mercy towards her enemies. It's hard to imagine that such an outstanding woman grew up in such an environment. Di Beichen glanced at Mo Yunjua and left the palace in a flash. Mo Yunjua watched as Di Beichen left. A meaningful smile spread across his lips. Perhaps he was late compared to Di Beichen, but that didn't mean that he will always be late in the future. With a flash of his body, Mo Yunjue's figure also disappeared into the darkness. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang woke up leisurely, and when she opened her eyes, she saw Di Beichen beside the bed. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang waking up, a joyful smile appeared in Di Beichen's eyes. "Wife, you are awake. Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly and shook her head. No. Di Beichen poured a glass of water for Bailey Hongzhuang and gently fed it to her. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was just saying that. The pain from broken ribs is not something that one can recover from in a short period of time, but his wife has always been strong, not wanting to cause anyone worry. "My dear, you must be hungry. I'll go call someone to warm up the food for you." Di Beichen's eyes were filled with tenderness and doting. After yesterday's battle, Hongzhuang had not eaten anything. She must be very hungry. He had already had a meal prepared, but he didn't know when Hongzhuang would wake up. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen's bustling figure, with a happy smile on her lips. She thought it would be very difficult to leave the royal arena alive. But now, not only did she survive, everyone was also unharmed. She felt very lucky. Although her wounds were still painful, the pain had undoubtedly improved compared to what she had suffered from earlier. "Master, how are your injuries?" The eyes of Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi were full of concern, as they felt very sad seeing their master so injured. Bailey Hongzhuang reached out and touched the heads of the three little guys, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I'm fine. You should be hungry too. I'll ask Di Beichen to prepare some food for you in a moment." Listening to her words, the three beasts did not show any joy. Compared to eating, the most important thing at this moment is the safety of the master. Introduction. Little buddies, master. If we encounter that kind of situation again, don't worry about the others, let Xiao Bai and I handle it. Xiao Hei's eyes gleamed with a serious and stubborn light. He understood that the reason why the master didn't let him and Xiao Bai fight was because of concern for their safety. But seeing their master hurt, they felt even more sad. This feeling of powerlessness made them go crazy, especially Xiao Bai. "Yes, we can't always do this, everyone will know sooner or later," Xiao Bai said seriously. Looking at the serious glint in Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang also saw a hint of contemplation in their eyes. Not to mention other things, just the news that she was able to contract three beasts by herself would shock many people. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's strength is so outstanding, they would shock everyone even more. However, she also understands Xiao He and Xiao Bai's thoughts. Even Bai Shi is well known by everyone, but they are invisible. Xiao He and Xiao Bai must feel uncomfortable inside. Indeed, she should not continue to hide them anymore. Xiao He and Xiao Bai should also appear openly to everyone. Just when Bailey Hongzhuang was about to speak, Di Beichen returned with a meal. Xiao He and Xiao Bai swooped back to Bailey Hongzhuang's head a second before Di Beichen appeared. Only Bai Shi was still beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was even more deeply moved. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were also her partners. The previous treatment was indeed unfair to Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughtful expression, Di Beichen couldn't help asking, "Wife, what are you thinking about?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, "Beichen, come here first." With a faint smile on the corners of Di Beichen's lips, he walked over and sat down on the edge of Bailey Hongzhuang's bed. "Wife, what do you want to tell me?" "Beichen, I want to introduce two of my little friends to you." Hearing this, Di Beichen's eyes showed a hint of surprise. "Little friends?" Di Beichen's gaze scanned the room. There was no one else in the room except him and his wife. Could it be that the opponent's strength is so strong that he even escaped his perception? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and the next moment, she reached out and grabbed Xiao He and Xiao Bai off her head and said, "It's these two." She trusts Di Beichen enough, since they have already decided to be together. She doesn't want to hide anything from him anymore. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were surprised by Bailey Hongzhuang's actions. Although they had expressed their thoughts to their master earlier, they did not expect the master to decide so quickly. After Bailey Hongzhuang's gesture, Xiao He and Xiao Bai gradually became the same size as the white lion. Di Beichen looked at the suddenly enlarged Xiao He and Xiao Bai in front of him with a deep look of surprise in his eyes. This is. His deep eyes as vast as the sea were full of unspeakable shock. Even Di Baichen felt that this scene was truly shocking. He had noticed the black and white bead flowers on Bailey Hongshuang's hair before, but he just thought that she just liked these bead flowers a lot, and he never thought much about it. But who would have thought that these two bead flowers would be two monsters? This is too shocking. The soft cushion back then? Let me introduce you. This is Xiao He and this is Xiao Bai. They are my contract beasts just like Bai Shi. Bailey Hongshuang stroked the fluffy heads of Xiao He and Xiao Bai with an elegant and perfect smile on her face. Di Baichen looked at Xiao He and Xiao Bai in front of him. At first glance these two little guys looked like two fluffy balls, but upon closer inspection, he noticed that both of them had noses and eyes and were very cute. Hongshuang, you said that the black one is called Xiao Bai, and the white one is called Xiao He? Di Baichen couldn't help but be surprised when he heard the names of Xiao He and Xiao Bai. These names are the opposite of their appearance. The smile in Bailey Hongshuang's eyes deepened. That's right, I gave them their names. Hearing this, Di Baichen nodded slightly. This is indeed very creative. Seeing Di Baichen's expression, Bailey Hongshuang understood that Di Baichen was very frustrated with these two names, but she was very satisfied with these two names. Do you mean that you have 3 contracted beasts? A serious look appeared in Di Baichen's eyes. He did not miss the point of Bailey Hongshuang's words. Bailey Hongshuang nodded slightly. That's right, Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi are all my contracted beasts, but I thought it would be shocking if the news got out, so I didn't say it all the time. There is no need to keep hiding it. Di Baichen frowned slightly. Almost everyone on the Shangxian continent knows about contracted beasts, but similarly, everyone knows that a cultivator can only contract with a single contracted beast. That's why cultivators are especially careful when making a contract with a magical beast, because they only have one chance in a lifetime. Once you have missed the opportunity, there will be no room for any changes in the future. However, Bailey Hongshuang was able to contract 3 beasts? This news was too shocking. This news is indeed surprising. When did you contract Xiao He and Xiao Bai? Although Di Baichen was very surprised by the news, he always believed that the world is big and anything can happen. However, when looking at Xiao He and Xiao Bai, Di Baichen felt a familiarity, as if he had seen these two little guys somewhere before. Why do I feel that these two little guys are very familiar? Di Baichen furrowed his eyebrows. When did he meet them before? Hearing Di Baichen's words, Bailey Hongshuang was slightly startled, and then the smile in her eyes deepened again. Speaking of which, Di Baichen, Xiao He and Xiao Bai have indeed seen each other before. Suddenly, Di Baichen's eyes froze, and an incredible light flashed in his eyes. Wife, when you and I met for the first time, that cushion? Haha. After Di Baichen's comment, Bailey Hongshuang couldn't help but chuck. It seems that your memory is very good. At that time she used Xiao He and Xiao Bai to catch Di Baichen, but everyone thought that Xiao He and Xiao Bai were just a cushion, and no one thought much about it. Seeing that Bailey Hongshuang confirmed his guess, Di Baichen's expression of surprise increased. He never thought that it was actually like this. I made a contract with Xiao He and Xiao Bai before we met, and they were the ones who have accompanied me all this time. Bailey Hongshuang had a warm and bright smile on her lips. Because Xiao He and Xiao Bai had been by her side all this time, she never felt alone. Don't move, I'll feed you. So, before you contracted Bai Shi, you already had 2 contracted beasts? Di Baichen was a little surprised. Although contracted beasts are known to all cultivators of the Shangxian continent, it was very difficult for an ordinary cultivator to successfully find even one contracted beast. With Bailey Hongshuang's status in the general's mansion back then, not to mention contracting 2 beasts, she normally would not have even seen the shadow of a contracted beast. It seems that Bailey Hongshuang must be some unknown secrets. However, Di Baichen was not concerned about these secrets. Bailey Hongshuang was willing to tell him about Xiao He and Xiao Bai, which already proved her trust in him. Bailey Hongshuang nodded lightly. That's right, Baichen. Do you know if there are people in the Shangxian continent who can contract more than 1 beast? According to what Xiao He and Xiao Bai said, she is the master of the Ring of Chaos, so there is no limit to the number of contracted beasts. There is no doubt that the Shangxian continent of today is vastly different from the one 1,000 years ago, and she is not ignorant of the situation in this regard. Di Beichen thought for a moment and shook his head slightly. As far as I know, a cultivator can only contract one beast. So far I have never seen a cultivator who can contract more than one beast except you. However, having this ability is undoubtedly a great thing for you. At least you have many helpers. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with admiration. Hongzhuang always managed to amaze him. This kind of ability that he had never seen before could also appear in Hongzhuang. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. So far, her 3 contracted beasts are stronger than her. As the master, she is under a huge amount of pressure. Di Beichen assessed Xiao He and Xiao Bai, and he could faintly sense some fluctuations from these 2 little fellows. It seems that these 2 little guys are also very strong. Thinking of this, Di Beichen also feels a little relieved. If his wife always has a lot of help around her, at least the danger will be been reduced a lot. Beichen, Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Bai Shi are also hungry. Can you? Before Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, Di Beichen understood. I'll send someone to prepare something immediately. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other, and their eyes flashed with excitement. Judging from this attitude, there is no need for them to hide from now on. Ha ha! Xiao He and Xiao Bai rolled around excitedly. They are finally able to reappear in public. Di Beichen brought the food to Bailey Hongzhuang. When Bailey Hongzhuang was about to take the food, she felt some pain in her arm. Don't move, I'll feed you. Hearing Di Beichen's domineering yet gentle words, Bailey Hongzhuang blushed a little. No one had ever fed her before. What's more, this person is Di Beichen. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a narrow gaze. This kind of atmosphere is really ambiguous. You, Bailey Hongzhuang glared at the 3 beasts. These 3 guys were not usually excited about things like this. Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Bai Shi immediately raised their paws to cover their eyes. I can't see, I don't see anything. There was a helpless light in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Their paws were open wide, clearly not blocking their eyes. Okay? Seeing this, Di Beichen couldn't help but chuckle. The 3 contracted beasts of his lady are really lively. Poisoned. Nangong Aochen. While Bailey Hongzhuang was recuperating, news spread that Nangong Aochen was seriously ill. The group was at a loss. Even the alchemist masters of the Alchemist Guild were unable to think of a solution. This disease is truly rare. No matter how much they researched, they could not solve it. After the news spread, everyone was surprised. They didn't know how the good crown prince could have such a strange disease. Only members of the royal family knew that Nangong Aochen fell into such a situation because of the elixir fed to him by Bailey Hongzhuang. Today, Nangong Aochen is already delirious, and his body is losing weight at an extremely rapid rate. If a cure cannot be found, then Nangong Aochen is likely to die. This news is undoubtedly a bolt from the blue for the Qingshao Kingdom royal family. Nangong Aochen is understood to be the best successor of the Qingshao Kingdom royal family. No matter what the aspect is, he is a best choice. However, now that Nangong Aochen has fallen into such a situation and Nangong Xiujia has been assassinated, if Nangong Aochen cannot recover, then there will really be no suitable candidate for the next ruler of Qingshao Kingdom. A cheerful smile appeared on Xia Jiqing's face. Those who persist in doing evil will self-destruct. What the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom did was so disgusting. Nangong Aochen deserves to have ended up this way. I can't wait for Nangong Aochen to die. Whenever I think of Nangong Aochen and Nangong Aoi's appearance that day, I can't help but want to kill them myself. Zhang Yunfeng's voice was resolute. The huge royal family actually wanted to kill them just to create a favorable image for Nangong Aochen. Even though it has been a few days, she can still vividly remember the original situation, and her hatred for Qingshao Kingdom could not be quelled. Not only Zhang Yunfeng, Cui Haoyan and the others did not have the slightest positive impression of Nangong Aochen and the others. If the other party died, they would feel happy. In that situation back then, the royal family completely oppressed people with their power and didn't even take their lives into consideration. Most importantly, they didn't do anything wrong, and the royal family's actions were totally unacceptable. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression is calm. Among all people, she probably hates the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom the most. Xia Jiqing and the others are all her friends, but just to put Nangong Aochen into the limelight, they wanted to wipe them out. Instead, she obliterated Nangong Aochen. She has never been soft-hearted towards her enemies. As early as when she fed poison to Nangong Aochen, she had already made up her mind that Nangong Aochen must die. Not only that, members of the royal family must also be punished. Since he wanted them to be a stepping stone for Nangong Aochen, she will make the entire royal family pay for it. Chu Jiao and others were very helpless. Nangong Oui invited them into the palace to detoxify Nangong Aochen, but they had never seen such a rare poison. Even though they have tried every possible way, it still didn't work. The toxin is simply beyond their understanding. Almost at the first moment of contact with this poison, Chu Jiao and others had already determined that the person who poisoned Nangong Aochen was a master of using poisons. Otherwise, this poison would not be so difficult to solve. However, according to Nangong Oui, this poison was actually made by Bailey Hongshuang. When they heard the news, they couldn't believe it. There is a big difference between an alchemist and a poisoner. Most of the alchemists following alchemy formulas to make pills, but a poison master studies medicine. Seems similar, but it is completely different. Difficult, Chu Jiao. They have understood Bailey Hongshuang's talent in alchemy to a certain extent, but they had no idea that Bailey Hongshuang had such a talent in the poison arts. The first time they heard about it, they couldn't believe it. It is incredible that someone as young as Bailey Hongshuang can achieve such results in cultivation, alchemy, and inscriptions. Poison techniques are equally complex, and the effort required to delve into this field is certainly not small. How could Bailey Hongshuang have so much energy to study these things? If this is the case, Bailey Hongshuang is really a genius. However, the confident tone of Nangong Ouying left no room for doubt. With his identity, if he said so, there must be enough solid evidence. With the existence of Di Beichen, Nangong Oui could not use his power to pressure Bailey Hongshuang to save Nangong Aochen. Because of what happened earlier, Bailey Hongshuang probably hated him to the extreme, so if he went to ask for an antidote, it would absolutely be futile. Nangong Oui knew that the relationship between Chu Jiao and Huan Qi was very good. As long as Chu Jiao and the three helped, Nangong Aochen might still have a chance. As for this, Chu Jiao and the other two could be said to be exceptionally helpless. Although they did not watch the final match, news travels fast and they also learned about the finals outcome. To put it simply, this is the royal family using their power to oppress people. Even if Bailey Hongshuang gave Nangong Aochen poison, it was probably because she felt she couldn't survive, so she poisoned him. If it were them, no matter how magnanimous they might be, they would not be able to give out the antidote. After all, it was the royal family who wanted to take their lives. They were just forced to counterattack. In my opinion, it is absolutely impossible for Bailey Hongshuang to give up with the antidote. Chen Yu's tone was full of certainty. Although he only met Bai Li Hongzwang at the alchemy competition, he knows that Bai Li Hongzwang is a person with strong opinions and is not easily swayed. Just from Bailey Hongshuang's treatment of Wei Hanyun, one could see that she has never been lenient towards her enemies. Now it is undoubtedly very difficult for them to ask Bailey Hongshuang for the elixir. However, dealing with the emperor's command is difficult. They have stayed in Qingshao Kingdom for many years, and the royal family has taken good care of them. If possible, they would like to avoid this matter. It's true that the royal family has gone too far in this matter. Moreover, Bailey Hongshuang, being the wife of Di Beichen, is not afraid of the royal family, so it is really difficult. Lin Hao's eyes reflected a little helplessness, as this kind of thing is really difficult for them to do. We're just going to give it a try. If Bailey Hongshuang doesn't want to, there's nothing we can do. Chu Jiao's face was also held a contemplative expression. They didn't guarantee that they would be successful. They were just going to inquire because of the years of the royal family's support over the years. If Bailey Hongshuang was not willing, they would not force her. I just hope Elder Huan doesn't think that we're in league with the royal family, sigh. Lin Hao sighed. They have known Huan Qiyu for many years, and this time Huan Qiyu's life was almost lost here. From the attitude of Huan Qiyu on that day, it seems that Kanglin Academy is now determined to break away from the other two academies. If it were not for Bailey Hongshuang's injuries that need rest, the team from Kanglin Academy would have already left Qingshao country. After this time they don't know when they will see Huan Qiyu again. They really don't want their friendship of many years to be affected by the royal family's affairs. Inscriptionist Guild Bailey Hongzhuang was resting in the house. The fracture of her rib is clearly not something that can be healed in a short period of time. She fears she will have to rest for a few more days before leaving the Qingshao kingdom. Bailey girl, how are your injuries? Just when Bailey Hongzhuang was bored, Di Beichen opened the door and a familiar voice rang outside the room. Turning her gaze slightly, Bailey Hongzhuang saw Bai Jingtian, Ji Yunma and Qin Qinggu walk in. We just heard about your injuries, so we came to see you. How is your health? Ji Yunma asked with concern. Although they didn't know each other for a long time, they were real lifelong friends. Last time, Bailey Hongzhuang told them many ways to configure inscription liquid, which made their eyes shine. The inscription technique, which had not made progress for many years, had already made progress after Bailey Hongzhuang's hints. Therefore, they not only appreciated Bailey Hongzhuang, but also had a fondness for her like elders for their grandchild. They thought that there would be no problems in the finals of the Academy Exchange competition, but didn't expect such a big thing to happen. If Di Beichen hadn't just arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang's life might have been lost in the royal arena. When they first learned the news, the three old guys were all very angry. Nowadays, the royal family is becoming more and more useless, even attacking students from the academy. If they were there at the time, they would definitely stand up and stop it. But after finding out that Bailey Hongzhuang was fine, they focused their attention on Di Beichen. All along, they thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was excellent and that ordinary men were not good enough for her. Bai Jingtian was still thinking of introducing her to some young heroes. They didn't expect to not need to worry about this matter at all. To their surprise, the young master of the Tiangang sect was actually Bailey Hongzhuang's husband. They were truly shocked and they exclaimed that they didn't expect it. Seeing Bai Jingtian and his companions, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a joyful smile. Although they have only known each other for a short time, Bai Jingtian and the other two people gave her the same feeling as those old guys from her previous life, as if they were her grandfathers. No problem, it will be back to normal in a few days, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. The royal family went too far this time. I almost died of anger when I heard the news. Bai Jingtian couldn't hide his anger. Bailey Hongzhuang is a rare good seedling. The royal family actually wanted to kill her. People with different interests cannot work together. As soon as the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom was mentioned, a hint of coldness appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Don't talk about them, save yourself the pain. Yes. Ji Yunma nodded. The matter is over. Let's not bring it up again. Bailey girl, after taking your advice last time, I went back and experimented, and it was indeed successful. Qin Qingwu's face was beaming with joy. The method of configuring the inscription liquid that Bailey Hongzhuang mentioned had a significant difference from theirs. After some experiments, they found that the method mentioned by Bailey Hongzhuang was more appropriate, and it gave them a lot of help. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. Bailey girl, don't you plan to join the Inscription Masters Guild? Bai Jingtian asked. We three old guys are not young anymore. If you can join, we will nominate you for guild leader in Qingshao Kingdom, and let you manage it in the future. Gift inscription pen. Hearing Bai Jingtian's words, Di Beichen at the side also had a look of surprise in his eyes. Previously, he had already heard from Xia Jiqing about Bailey Hongzhuang's talent as an inscription master. However, from the attitude of Bai Jingtian and the two others, it can be seen that they admire Bailey Hongzhuang to an extraordinary degree. Compared to the Alchemist Guild, the Inscriber Guild has fewer members, but their benefits are even greater than the Alchemist Guilds. After all, rare things are precious, and the number of inscribers is really too small. Although Bailey Hongzhuang is quite accomplished in the inscription art, with her current age and qualifications, she is unable to become the president of the inscription division. This status means that Bailey Hongzhuang could draw a lot of resources from the Inscription Masters Guild, which would be of great benefit to Bailey Hongzhuang. This is what many inscription masters want. Bai Jingtian so easily gave up the identity of the president of the Inscription Masters Guild to Bailey Hongzhuang? It seems that the Bai Jingtian and the two others not only appreciate Bailey Hongzhuang, but they also have a kind of paternal love for Bailey Hongzhuang. I am willing to join the Inscription Masters Guild, but given the current situation with the Qingshao Kingdom's royal family, I won't be staying here. Bailey Hongzhuang showed a trace of helplessness in her eyes. The biggest gain from this trip to Qingshao Kingdom was getting to know the Bai Jingtian and the other two seniors. If possible, she also hopes to have the opportunity to communicate further with Bai Jingtian and the other two in the future, but she has a strong disgust for Qingshao Kingdom, and she will definitely not stay here. Hearing this, Bai Jingtian also sighed. He understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was right. It can be said that Bailey Hongzhuang has completely fallen out with Qingshao Kingdom's royal family. If she still stays in Qingshao Kingdom, the royal family would likely regard her as a thorn in their side, leading to a lot of trouble in the future. The royal family's actions are becoming more and more unbearable. Bailey girl, if you have a chance in the future, come and see us three old men. Bai Jingtian spoke out. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded repeatedly. I definitely will. In my opinion, you don't need to participate in the assessment of Inscription Master. I'll draft your Inscription Master identity tomorrow and bring you your Calligraphy Master robe. It will be much more convenient to buy the materials needed for inscription at the Inscription Masters Guild in the future. If you go to other Inscription Masters Guilds for assessment, it will inevitably be troublesome. Seeing Bai Jingtian thinking of her so much, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little flattered. Thank you, Elder Bai. Bai Jingtian smiled and waved his hand. Why are we talking about this between us? Ji Yunma and Qin Qinggu placed a slender brocade box in front of Bailey Hongzhuang, indicating that Bailey Hongzhuang should open it. Bailey girl, you came to Qingshao Kingdom and helped us three old guys a lot. We old guys don't have much to give you, so this inscription pin is a gift. Upon hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang hesitated for a moment, then immediately waved her hands and said, This won't do, I can't accept it. Bailey girl, we three are all your elders. What's wrong with giving you a small gift? Quickly take it. Bailey Hongzhuang opened the brocade box and saw a black and shiny inscription pen in the box. With a slight movement of her mental energy, Bailey Hongzhuang could feel how good the performance of this inscription pen was. With such an inscription pen in hand, the success rate of her drawing inscriptions would also increase significantly. It's just that this inscription pen is too precious. Ask, Bailey Hongzhuang. The inscription pen is very important to the inscription master, just like the alchemy furnace is important to the alchemist. A good inscription pen is very rare, and the inscription pen given to her by the three of them is undoubtedly very precious, and is a rare and excellent product. For the inscription master, an inscription pen is very important. Please keep it well, Ji Yunma said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her mouth. Everyone knew how valuable this inscription pen was. She really couldn't just accept it like this. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was about to say something, Qin Qinggu waved his hand to stop Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Bailey girl, don't say that you refuse. The three of us regard you as our granddaughter, and it is normal for grandfathers to give something to their granddaughter. If you refuse, it means that you don't want to treat us as grandfathers. Upon hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was deeply moved. Bai Jingtian and the others were really too good to her. Thank you very much. Bailey Hongzhuang's face bloomed with a smile. If she still refused at this time, it would hurt the hearts of the three seniors. After seeing this scene, Di Baichen, who was standing nearby, also had a hint of smile in his eyes. While Bailey Hongzhuang and others were conversing, Chu Jiu and the others also came to the inn. As Chu Jiu and the two others explained their intention, the expression on Huan Chuyo's face also changed somewhat. Since experiencing the events in the finals, he has come to understand many things. All the fame is meaningless, and he has also made a firm decision that he will never come to Qingshao country again. You mean that Nangong Aochen is seriously ill because Bailey Hongzhuang was poisoned? Do you mean to say that Nangong Aochen's serious illness is due to Bailey Hongzhuang poisoning him? Huan Chuyu was somewhat skeptical. If Bailey Hongzhuang really did poison him, Nangong Aochen should have already reported this, but he has not received any news of it yet. Perhaps this is another case of the royal family framing someone. Chu Jiyue nodded slightly. However, this was said by Nangong Aochen when he was awake, so it shouldn't be wrong. I don't know. Huan Chujiyue shook his head with a slight look of detachment on his face. He has no connection with the royal family anymore, and just hearing the word royal makes him uncomfortable. Elder Huan, why don't you ask Bailey Hongshuang? Chujio wondered. Bailey Hongshuang is still recovering from her injuries. If you are here just to inquire about her condition or to catch up, I welcome you. But if you are here to act as an ambassador for the royal family, then you can leave now. Huan Chu's face was slightly cold. As the vice principal, the thing he could not accept the most was someone threatening the lives of the students. The actions of the royal family of Qingshao have already touched his bottom line. And whether Nangong Aochen is dead or alive has nothing to do with him. Looking at Huan Chuyo's resolute attitude, the three of them were very helpless. This was not unexpected. Elder Huan, our friendship with you has been for so many years, Chunyu said slowly. We are definitely on your side in this matter, but we have been in Qingshao Kingdom for so many years, and the emperor asked us to come. We are helpless. We just want to ask Bailey Hongshuang a few questions. If she disagrees, we will not force it. What do you think? Upon hearing this, Huan Chuyu looked Chu Jio and the others, and there was still a bit of unhappiness in his eyes. Extraordinary Bailey Hongshuang, I'll let you meet Bailey Hongshuang. As for the rest, I'll leave it up to Bailey Hongshuang to decide. Huan Chuyu said slowly. He has known Chu Jio and the other two people for many years, and he also has a certain understanding of their personalities. He believes that they came only out of helplessness. After all, this matter is a problem between Kanglin Academy and Qingshao Kingdom's royal family, and he is unwilling to hurt their relationship of many years because of it. After saying farewell to Qingshao Kingdom this time, he doesn't know when he and these old friends will be able to meet again. Hearing Huan Chuyo's words, Chu Jio and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Elder Huan was still reasonable and things weren't as bad as they thought. Okay. Chu Jio nodded. No matter what decision Bailey Hongshuang makes, we will respect it. Huan Chuyo's complexion looked a little better. As the vice principal of the academy, he felt that he owed Bailey Hongshuang a lot because of the exchange competition. He was unwilling to let Bailey Hongshuang suffer any more harm. This time Bailey Hongshuang was completely in charge. He didn't want Bailey Hongshuang to make any decision she didn't want because of his friendship with Chu Jio and the others. Huan Chuyu led Chu Jio and the others into Bailey Hongshuang's house, and when Bai Jingtian and the others saw that Chu Jio and the others had also come, a look of surprise appeared in their eyes. I didn't expect you to come to see the Hongshuang girl, Ji Yunma said with a smile. It was only a short time since Bailey Hongshuang came to Qingshao Kingdom, but she has conquered many people with her strength. Chu Jio and the other two were equally surprised, but after hearing Ji Yunma's question, their expressions changed slightly. Bailey girl, how is your injury now? Chu Jio took out a white porcelain bottle and handed it to Bailey Hongshuang. This elixir is very helpful for healing. Thank you, Master Chu. My injury is no longer a hindrance. Bailey Hongshuang said hastily. She was equally surprised by the appearance of Chu Jio and the other two. The reason why Bai Jingtian and the other two came was because of their very good relationship between her and Bai Jingtian. As for Chu Jio and the other two, although they had some interaction during the alchemy competition, they were not very familiar. It seems that their main purpose for coming here was to visit the vice principal. After all, the vice principal has known them for many years and is good friends with them. They will leave Qingshao Kingdom in a few days, and it will not be so easy to meet each other in the future. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw so many masters visiting Bailey Hongshuang, envy and emotion appeared in their eyes. Hongshuang is really amazing to have so many masters come to see her. If other people saw it, they would probably be surprised beyond belief. Xia Jiqing's face was full of smiles. Hongshuang was truly her idol, and everything about her was so extraordinary. A hint of envy appeared in Lu Qingyue's eyes. Bailey Hongshuang was now a hero of Kanglin Academy, and almost everyone was extremely fond of her. Even masters who are rarely seen normally are eager to visit Bailey Hongshuang. Such an honor is really not something ordinary people can have. Hongshuang is not an ordinary person. The students of Lingyan Academy were stunned when several masters rushed to accept Hongzhuang as their apprentice. Zhan Yunfeng said with a smile. As a woman herself, she didn't feel the slightest bit of jealousy towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Perhaps it is precisely because she knows that she will never be able to compare with Hongzhuang, so she has no jealousy. Angry by Jingtian after some small talk, Chu Jiao and the other two hesitated to speak. They did not expect Bai Jingtian and his two companions to be here. They understand the personalities of Bai Jingtian and others very well, and if they were to explain their intentions, it would probably provoke some contempt. Bailey Hongzhuang also noticed that Chu Jiao and his companions were hesitant to speak. It seems that they did not come just to visit but have something to say. Elder Huan, is there something you need? Bailey Hongzhuang spoke slowly. Her pitch-black phoenix eyes shone with the wise light of contemplation. She already had some guesses in her mind, but she wasn't sure if her assumptions were correct. Now Nangong Aochen's situation has become increasingly serious. She is confident in the poison she has administered, and that absolutely no one else can solve it except for her. She believes that Nangong Oui must be impatient by now. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Chu Jiao and the other two exchanged a glance. Since they came for a purpose in mind, there was no point in hesitating any longer. Bailey girl, we heard that you gave a pill to His Highness, the Crown Prince, during the final? Chunyu asked slowly. As Chunyu finished speaking, the previously lively and joyous atmosphere in the room changed. All eyes turned to Chunyu, as people didn't understand the meaning behind his words. Chunyu, what do you mean by asking that? Bai Jingtian frowned. He had also heard the news that Nangong Aochen was seriously ill, but he didn't know that it had something to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, whether Bailey Hongzhuang was involved or not, there is no evidence. Could it be that Chan Yu came to demand punishment? Elder Bai, I don't mean anything by it. I just want to ask if Bailey Hongzhuang has an antidote. As soon as these words were spoken, Xia Jiqing and others looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. Previously, they were overjoyed to hear about Nangong Aochen's sudden illness, thinking that it was the natural consequence of his wrongdoings and troubles that he had gotten himself into. They never imagined that it was all orchestrated by Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her eyebrows slightly. She understood that this news couldn't be hidden forever, and Nangong Aochen would definitely speak out about it. However, she never thought that it would be Chu Jiao and the others who came to ask her for the antidote. Di Beichen's face had already taken on a hint of coldness. He was determined to take the life of Nangong Aochen, but because Bailey Hongzhuang had already poisoned him, he didn't immediately take action. Now that the royal family dared to question Bailey Hongzhuang, this was something he could not forgive. Senior Chen, I'm wondering if your brain has been squeezed by a door? Ji Yunma's eyes flashed with confusion. From beginning to end, this whole thing was started by the royal family. Are you now lobbying for the royal family? If you came for the royal family, I suggest you don't say anything else and just leave. Qin Qingwu's eyes also showed a hint of disgust. They were only concerned with studying inscription art and had no fondness for members of the royal family. They regarded Bailey girl as a granddaughter, and the royal family's actions undoubtedly made them very unhappy. At this time, Chen Yu and others even came to ask Bailey girl for an antidote. Isn't that asking for trouble? Looking at the attitudes of Bai Jingtian and others, the faces of Chen Yu and his two companions also looked a bit unpleasant. If possible, they really didn't want to do such things for the royal family. Antidote, I don't have it. Elder Bai, Elder Ji, Elder Qin. This matter is not what you think it is, Chen Yu explained helplessly. We only came to inquire because of the emperor's orders, and we have no other intentions. As Chen Yu's words fell, the slightly tense atmosphere also eased a bit. At least Chen Yu and the other two were not here to make trouble. Bailey girl, His Highness the Crown Prince has already fallen into chaos. I wonder if you can provide an antidote? Asked Chu Jiao. Just in the past few days, Nangong Aochen has suffered quite a bit. If the intention was to take revenge on Nangong Aochen, then the goal has been achieved. Bailey Hongzhuang, you decide this matter for yourself, don't mind others. Huan Qiyu said slowly, as he didn't want Bailey Hongshuang to do something she didn't want to do because of him. If it weren't for the long-standing relationship between him, Chan Yu, and the others, he would have directly refused. What does Nangong Aochan have anything to do with them? Now that Nangong Aochan is seriously ill, he has come to seek their help. Prior to this, the royal family wanted to use the deaths of all of them as a stepping stone for Nangong Aochan. Bailey Hongshuang gave Huan Qiyu a slightly surprised look. She thought that Huan Qiyu brought the three master alchemists in because Huan Qiyu had the same idea as them, but now it seems that this is not the case. Vaguely, she already understood that Huan Qiyu probably wasn't happy either. Indeed, I was the one who administered the poison, said Bailey Hongshuang slowly. Upon hearing this, everyone's expression changed. Bailey Hongshuang unexpectedly straightforwardly admitted it. The beautiful and refined face was full of calmness and indifference. From the beginning to the end, Bailey Hongshuang never tried to hide it. Since Nangong Aochan wanted her dead, she naturally couldn't let Nangong Aochan live happily either. However, I don't have an antidote. Since she started making this poison, she had no plans to provide an antidote for anyone. If she didn't truly hope for the other party's death, she wouldn't have chosen to use this poison. From the moment she fed Nangong Aochan this pill, it was already destined that he was doomed. What does this mean? Lin Hao was a little surprised, not knowing whether Bailey Hongshuang had no antidote or was unwilling to give it out. Since I have decided to poison him and want him dead, what's the point of preparing an antidote? Bailey Hongshuang's rhetorical question left Chu Jiao and the others in silence. Upon careful consideration, Bailey Hongshuang's words did make some sense. The function of poison is to kill, and Bailey Hongshuang was obviously determined to kill Nangong Aochan. So why bother to make an antidote? Now that you are safe and sound, it is better to turn your hostility into friendship and hand over the antidote, and you will have one less enemy. Chu Jiao said earnestly. This scene was something she really didn't want to see. What Elder Chu said is wrong. Bailey Hongshuang shook her head slightly, but there was a wicked smile on her lips. Previously, it wasn't that the royal family didn't want to kill us. It was just that they didn't have the ability, so we've survived until now. This has nothing to do with the royal family. If it weren't for the appearance of Di Beichen, we would have already disappeared from this world. As for whether I kill Nangong Aochan or not, this is also my decision. If the royal family has the ability, Nangong Aochan will naturally not die. But if they don't have the ability, what does that have to do with me? Bailey Hongshuang's expression was indifferent. Her eyes were absolutely determined. She had no mercy towards a guy like Nangong Aochan. Bailey girl, well said. Even if she handed over the antidote, the royal family would not be grateful to her for it. On the contrary, because what she had done had left an indelible stain on the royal family, she and the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom were destined to be at odds. If that's the case, why would she cultivate an enemy and make herself unhappy? Hearing Bailey Hongshuang's words, everyone's expressions changed a little, and they felt that Bailey Hongshuang's words were very reasonable. Even Chu Jiao and the others, who had already planned their speech, were speechless after hearing Bailey Hongshuang's words, because Bailey Hongshuang had already seen through all of this. Di Beichen's eyes were full of admiration. His wife's intelligence is indeed not something ordinary people can possess. She didn't have the slightest bit of feminine weakness, which has reduced a lot of trouble. Xia Jiqing and the others were also full of admiration. They didn't expect Hongshuang to be so domineering at this time, making it impossible for people to refute. Clap clap. Bai Jingtian immediately applauded. He was also amazed by Bailey Hongshuang's remarks. Bailey girl, well said. Bailey Hongshuang's character is quite similar to his own. If you don't like it, you just don't like it, don't care about the rest. As an inscription master, even the imperial power cannot constrain him. If necessary, he could simply switch to another dynasty to reside. With the vastness of the world, surely there must be a place for him to go. Ji Yunma and Qin Qinggu also showed expressions of approval on their faces. If they were girls of the same age, facing such imperial power, they probably wouldn't have the courage to make such a decision. But Bailey Hongshuang's resoluteness really made their eyes shine. After all, The Shangxian continent is a world where everyone relies on their own abilities. Chu Jio and the other two looked at each other. They also did not expect Bailey Hongshuang to be so decisive. At such a moment, it seems that nothing they say will be of any use. Elder Chun, since Bailey Hongshuang has already made a decision, don't force it. Huan Qiyu said slowly. Bailey Hongshuang's decision did not exceed his expectations, and it was also the most correct decision. Thinking of this, Huan Qiyu's eyes could not help but fall on Lu Qinyue. Lu Qinyue's temperament is really too gentle, lacking the resoluteness that Bailey Hongshuang had. At least, if this kind of thing were to fall on Lu Qinyue's shoulders, he was afraid Lu Qinyue would not know how to decide. Chu Jio's group nodded slightly. They had done what they were supposed to do, and the outcome of this incident could only be attributed to the royal family's erroneous decision. In that case, we will take our leave first, Chu Jio said slowly. Because of this incident, there was a bit of embarrassment between them and Huan Qiyu and the others. It might be much better to come back with a different identity next time. However, just when Chu Jio and the others were about to leave, Bailey Hongshuang said slowly, "Three masters, you'd better not get too close to Nangong Aochan." After the words fell, Bailey Hongshuang withdrew her gaze, as she has already said everything she needed to say. It's just that when Chu Jio and the others heard Bailey Hongshuang's words, there was a deep look of horror in their eyes. What does this mean? Don't get too close to Nangong Aochan. Is there something unusual with Nangong Aochan's illness? As soon as they thought of this, the three people's faces changed suddenly. It seems that they had oversimplified the situation. The expressions of Huan Qiyu and the others also changed slightly. Bailey Hongshuang's words had already revealed a lot of information. Regret, Jian Qingqiu compared to the shock on everyone's faces. Bailey Hongshuang looked very indifferent. She has never been merciful to her enemies. At the beginning, Nangong Aoi wanted the entire Kanglin Academy team buried with her because she ruined Nangong Aochan's plan to become famous. She has always been good at treating others in the same way as they wanted to treat her. Since Nangong Aoi decided to do this, she would naturally not be polite. However, in the end she was on the victor's side. Looking at the indifferent Bailey Hongshuang, Di Bichan also had admiration and appreciation in his eyes. His wife has always been impeccable in everything she does. Even he can't help being frightened by this kind of poison. While Xia Jiqing and the others arrived happily, they could not help but feel sorry for Nangong Aochan and others. It is not good to offend anyone, but they just had to offend Hongshuang. The consequences of this can only be said to be their own fault. Bai Jingtian and the others were very calm about this. They have lived long lives. What kind of things have they never seen? This kind of outcome is very normal for those full of hatred and malice. There is no cruelty or kindness. One's determination has already determined everything. After Chu Jio and the other two left the inn, the horror in their hearts still did not disappear. As this is really amazing. With Bailey Hongshuang's age and skill, to achieve this level is already sufficient to prove that Bailey Hongshuang is extraordinary. This time, the royal family's decision was truly a big mistake. In the current situation, there is nothing we can do, Lin Hao said slowly. They had tried their best. Chu Jio nodded slightly and said, "Let's just tell the emperor this news. As for the rest, it's beyond our control." They only went to inquire out of respect for the care the royal family has shown them over the years. By doing this, they have already done all that they can. After all, even the royal family can't force them. The royal family really made a wrong decision this time, and the relationship between the three major academies has also been affected. Chu Jio sighed quietly and said, "Perhaps this was all destined to happen. If the academy exchange hadn't been suddenly rescheduled, none of this would have occurred." The outcome of the academy exchange meeting was unresolved, and both Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi felt very conflicted about it. This result was unexpected by all of them. The original purpose of hosting the academy exchange conference was just to suppress Kanglin Academy. Now that Kanglin Academy has withdrawn directly, they don't know what to do. After seeing the strong attitude of the royal family, Jian Qingqiu had a vague sense of foreboding. Now everyone thinks that Lingyin Academy is the academy of the royal family. In the future, the weight of the royal family in Lingyan Academy will become more and more important, and he, the principal, will also be constrained by the royal family. Song Hongxi's attitude has also changed somewhat. It is undoubtedly good that Lingyan Academy has the strength it has today. However, if it loses its autonomy as an academy, it is not a good thing. He had always felt that Jian Qingqiu's actions were beneficial and harmless, and could increase the influence of the academy and become more famous. But now it seems that the situation does not seem to be as optimistic as they thought. He needed to think about it carefully. Jian Qingqiu can no longer escape, but he still has a chance to escape. Jian Qingqiu also noticed Song Hongxi's thoughts, and his face became extremely ugly. But in the current situation, he couldn't say anything more. Powerful, Bailey Hongzhuang. After Nangong Oui learned about the result from Chu Jiao and other two, his expression became a bit ugly. Although he anticipated this outcome, he still felt that there was a glimmer of hope. After all, the power of the royal family should not be underestimated. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so decisive. As a result, he was left with no options. However, Chu Jiao's final reminder stunned him. Stay away from Nangong Aochen? Could this mean that the poison Nangong Aochen was afflicted with was contagious? When Nangong Oui heard the news, he found it incredible. He had never heard of the existence of this kind of poison, and he didn't believe that a poison master could create such a poison. Otherwise, who would dare to offend the poison master? Once someone was poisoned, the consequence would be the extermination of the entire family. As for their attitude towards Nangong Oui, Chu Jiao and the other two did not say anything more. They had said what they needed to say, and it was Nangong Oui's choice whether to believe it or not. In fact, Chu Jiao and the others were also skeptical about this matter. A poison with this effect was really unheard of. But Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was very serious, without a hint of deception. If this matter was said by someone else, they definitely would not believe it, but when these words were said by Bailey Hongzhuang, it quietly gained a little more credibility. Not for any other reason than it was Bailey Hongzhuang. So far, they had seen too many unbelievable things from Bailey Hongzhuang. Her abilities exceeded their imagination. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't need to deceive them. Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was resolute. She wanted Nangong Aochen to die. If it was only for this reason, Bailey Hongzhuang could have used a poison that killed instantly instead of making Nangong Aochen struggle for so long. There are two possibilities for doing this. One is that Bailey Hongzhuang wants Nangong Aochen to be tortured to death, and the other is the possibility that Bailey Hongzhuang said. Once Nangong Aochen was poisoned, other people would continue to come into contact with him. As a result, the possibility of other people being infected would also greatly increase. Regardless of the reason, they all shuddered. Obviously, offending an enemy like Bailey Hongzhuang was a very unwise move. Bai Jingtian and the others did not stay at the inn for long, and after telling Bailey Hongzhuang to rest well, they left. Once they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries were not serious, they felt relieved. Xia Jiqing and the others also left, leaving only Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen in the room. Di Beichen tucked in the covers for Bailey Hongzhuang, his fair and handsome face showing concern. With so many people coming to see you, are you tired? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly and shook her head. My injuries have already improved a lot. Don't treat me like an especially fragile patient. These things don't affect me much. As your husband, I just can't help worrying about you. Di Beichen smiled. His wife is truly strong. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a sweetness in her heart. It was rare for her to have such time to spend with Di Beichen, and it made her feel very happy. Have all the matters been resolved during your return to the sect? Did you also obtain the 9th grade purple Lingji? The jet-black phoenix-like eyes sparkled with concern. Bailey Hongzhuang was very concerned about the situation of Di Beichen's cursed body. Nervous Di Beichen nodded slightly and said, That's right, I obtained the 9th grade purple Lingji. Seeing Di Beichen's indifferent and simple expression, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a hint of emotion. She had thought that it would not be an easy task to resolve the sex affairs and obtain the 9th grade purple Lingji, But Di Beichen was able to handle it so well. From the indifferent look on Di Beichen's face, it seemed as though he was only dealing with something very simple. However, she knew that this matter was definitely not so easily resolved. Otherwise, there would have been no need for Di Beichen to go there in person. She had a vague feeling that as long as Di Beichen took action, all problems would easily solved. As long as he is there, everything can be solved. Returning this time must have been very tiring. With her delicate and exquisite face showing concern and distress, she knew that everyone was impressed by Di Beichen's status, but they didn't know that it was also a kind of pressure. It was precisely because of his unusual identity that he had much more the bear than others. Nowadays Di Beichen was often by her side, so it might be that he was under immense pressure. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's distress, Di Beichen's heart softened, and his right hand slowly grasped Bailey Hongzhuang's soft and boneless little hand. His handsome eyes were full of tenderness. "I'm not tired. As long as I see you, I won't be tired." Hearing Di Beichen's sweet words, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed the seriousness deep in Di Beichen's starry eyes, and the smile on his lips were also filled with happiness. "But wife, what is the relationship between you and Mo Yunjue?" Deep as the sea, his handsome eyes quietly showed a hint of tension. He didn't want to ask, but Mo Yunjue's attitude that day really made him feel threatened. Bailey Hongzhuang silently sized up Di Beichen, a hint of amusement rising in her heart. Over the past few days, Di Beichen had not asked her about Mo Yunjue. It seems that he couldn't bear it anymore. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's scrutinizing gaze, Di Beichen became even more nervous, afraid that the question he asked would make Bailey Hongzhuang feel that he didn't trust her. Although he had already sent Heimu to check information about Mo Yunjue, what he was more interested in knowing was his wife's attitude. Di Beichen felt nervous, which was completely non-existent in the past. Only when facing Bailey Hongzhuang did he have such emotions, because Bailey Hongzhuang's intentions were too important to him. Because he cares too much, he would feel nervous. If he had experienced this emotion before, he would have found it laughable. However, now he is deeply immersed in this emotion and unable to extricate himself from it. Seeing Di Beichen's nervous appearance, a smile slowly appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Mo Yunjue and I are just friends, nothing more. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke calmly. She had indeed always only regarded Mo Yunjue as a friend, without any romantic feelings. She was very clear that from the moment Di Beichen entered her heart, he was the one she would spend her life with. And she recognized Di Beichen's kindness towards her. She has never been a greedy person, nor someone who changes her mind frequently. As long as there is someone like Di Beichen who treats her sincerely, that is already enough. As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Di Beichen couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Especially with Bailey Hongzhuang's calm appearance, he understood that from start to finish, she had no other thoughts. "Wife, are you angry? In the past, when I was in the Luoyun mountain range, I once had a chance encounter with Mo Yunjue. Later, when I came to the Qingshao kingdom, I happened to meet Mo Yunjue again." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled modestly and looked at Di Beichen. Despite Di Beichen's excellence, he was still worried about a romantic rival. Sensing Bailey Hongzhuang's playful gaze, Di Beichen's eyes also changed a bit. If it wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang, he wouldn't care if it was another person. All his emotions naturally changed after meeting Bailey Hongzhuang, and every frown and smile from Bailey Hongzhuang moved his heart. All along, he had always been aware of his own excellence, but in the presence of Bailey Hongzhuang, he did not have such arrogance. Because in Di Beichen's life, Bailey Hongzhuang is the person destined for him by fate. That's why all his emotions were tied to Bailey Hongzhuang. At that moment when Di Beichen heard Li Hongzhuang speak so calmly and frankly, all the worries in his heart also disappeared. "I just find Mo Yunjue's origins a bit strange." Facing the teasing eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen pretended to be indifferent. As a mighty man, he was actually nervous about such a thing, which was indeed a bit damaging to his masculine image. However, in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, all of Di Beichen's actions appeared even more adorable. Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be serious and nodded. "Indeed, it's a bit strange." Sensing Bailey Hongzhuang's smile, Dibaichen narrowed his eyes. His wife's courage had grown. She dared to joke with him now. The next moment, Dibaichen's face slowly approached Bailey Hongshuang. Bailey Hongshuang stared blankly at Dibaichen's handsome face approaching her little by little. She could even feel his warm breath at such a close distance. The smile in her eyes gradually disappeared, and a touch of blush quietly spread on her pretty face. It wasn't until Dibaichen's nose touched hers that Bailey Hongshuang couldn't help but make a sound. What are you going to do? Dibaichen looked at Bailey Hongshuang's nervous appearance and chuckled softly. His face turned slightly and lingered by Bailey Hongshuang's ear. Wife, you are still so shy. As soon as these words were spoken, Bailey Hongshuang froze for a moment and looked at Dibaichen in embarrassment. Diban, this guy is really wicked. Dibaichen chuckled. His wife's shy nature has not changed at all. I just like seeing my wife's shyness. Dibaichen blinked. His already extraordinarily handsome face was now exuding a hint of charm and recklessness, filled with indescribable appeal. Bailey Hongshuang bit her lip. She was indeed no match for Dibaichen in this respect, but she still had other ways. I'm going to rest, so you should leave, said Bailey Hongshuang, lifting her chin. Upon seeing this, Dibaichen's eyes narrowed. Wife, are you angry? Bailey Hongshuang raised her chin, her expression unchanged. I'm just tired. Dibaichen looked at Bailey Hongshuang. Even when his wife was pretending to be angry, she was still so adorable. He knew that Bailey Hongshuang was joking, because he had already seen the uncontrolled smile in her eyes. In the next instant, Dibaichen moved a little closer to Bailey Hongshuang. Wife, why don't we rest together? Your husband is a little tired too. Dibaichen, hurry up and get out. Bailey Hongshuang was helpless. This guy's shamelessness was as strong as a city wall. The fate of offending the master after Dibaichen left, Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Bai Shi all gathered in front of Bailey Hongshuang. Their round, watery eyes all sparkled with slight smiles. Bailey Hongshuang's eyes changed slightly. She made a mistake. Next time Dibaichen came, she should put these three little guys into the ring of chaos first. Her image as a brilliant master of martial arts was all destroyed by Dibaichen. Three beasts blinked their small eyes and had thick smiles on their faces. The atmosphere was indeed different when Dibaichen was present. Stop looking at me like that, or you won't have dinner tonight. Seeing that the three beasts continued to stare without showing any signs of restraint, Bailey Hongshuang couldn't help but resort to her ultimate weapon. Fortunately, these three beasts still had a weakness. Sure enough, after Bailey Hongshuang said this, the expressions of the three beasts also changed, and they immediately restrained their gazes, not daring to continue staring. For a foodie, this is the most unacceptable thing for them. Xiao He and Xiao Bai walked up to Bailey Hongshuang, and their watery eyes twinkled with curiosity. Master, what kind of effect did the poison you gave to Nangong Ouchen have? Based on the words previously spoken by the master, they only knew that the poison was very powerful, so they were even more curious about what kind of poison it was. This is a highly contagious poison with terrifying effects. Nangong Ouchen has been sick for at least a month, and people who have been in frequent contact with him during this period are likely infected. Bailey Hongshuang remained calm as she spoke, recalling how the old guys in her family were surprised when she formulated this poison. Normally, she had kept this poison hidden away for future use. She would never use it regularly, but this time the actions of Qingshao Kingdom's royal family really offended her. At that time in the competition arena, she was very clear in her heart that although she fought desperately, the possibility of success was still very small. It was precisely because of this that at that time she wanted the entire royal family of Qingshao Kingdom to be buried with her. If she just wanted to kill Nangong Ouchen, there were many kinds of poisons that could violently kill him. If she wanted to torture Nangong Ouchen, there are also many methods available. However, she chose this method to make the entire royal family pay a huge price. Even though time has passed, the situation from before still remains vivid in her memory, and she has no intention of changing it. Upon hearing this, the three animals looked at each other and realized that their owner's methods were really extraordinary. Once you offend Master, your end is truly miserable. The royal family of Qingshao Kingdom really asked for trouble, but this is also their own fault. Bailey Hongzhuang recovered from her injuries very quickly. With her own medical treatment and Di Beichen persistently feeding her medicinal pills, her recovery speed was very satisfactory. "My injuries no longer affect me, let's leave tomorrow," said Bailey Hongzhuang slowly. Due to her injuries, they had delayed their departure from Qingshao Kingdom for a number of days. Now that Nangong Aochen's situation was growing more and more serious, they could also feel the royal family's gaze on them increasing. Although this has no effect everyone, it still feels very uncomfortable. Upon hearing this, Di Beichen frowned slightly, with some concern in his eyes. "Don't try to be strong, first recover from your injuries before we leave." Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly and said, "I understand my body. It will be fine, and besides, I don't want to stay here anymore." Anxious, Nangong Aoi seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's determination, Di Beichen thought for a moment. He understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was more worried about everyone. He had been together with Bailey Hongzhuang for so long that he also has a certain understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang's character. Making everyone bear it because of herself was obviously not what Bailey Hongzhuang wanted. "Are your injuries really okay?" The deep, dark eyes shimmered with a worried light. "The road is bumpy, if you are affected by it, I will feel heartbroken." With Di Beichen's question, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart softened, and a sweet feeling spread through her heart. She understood how much Di Beichen cared about her. "Don't worry, I'm sure nothing will happen," Bailey Hongzhuang said confidently. Although the journey was a bit bumpy, it wouldn't have too much of an impact. Her injuries had already recovered a lot, so leaving the Qingshao Kingdom was not a problem. "Then I'll go and tell everyone," said Di Beichen, stroking Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful hair. His handsome features revealed a hint of warmth, and it was precisely because of Bailey Hongzhuang's personality that he couldn't help but feel distressed. After Di Beichen told everyone about this decision, they all walked into Bailey Hongzhuang's room. "Hongzhuang, your injuries have not healed yet. Let's wait until your injuries are completely recovered before leaving." Xia Jiqing's face showed a worried expression. Although the recent attention from the royal family has made them somewhat helpless, with Di Beichen here, they did not have to worry about the royal family making any inappropriate moves. If it affects Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries, this is something they don't want to happen. "Jiqing is right, you don't have to worry about us, it doesn't matter where we cultivate," Cui Haoyan said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang had already done a lot for them. They couldn't let her be affected by them again. Although Gong Shaoqing and the others did not speak, their eyes showed the same concern. Looking at the concerned expressions on everyone's faces, Bailey Hongzhuang felt warm in her heart and smiled, saying, "My injuries are no longer serious, so you don't have to worry about me." In the end, everyone agreed with Bailey Hongzhuang's decision. In fact, Bailey Hongzhuang has become the leader of their team. No matter what choices she makes, they will support her. Di Beichen and the others started to prepare, and they will leave tomorrow. They also had to prepare their horses. Seeing the movements of Di Beichen and the others, the members of the royal family were also very upset. Once Bailey Hongzhuang left, Nangong Aochen would be completely helpless. Nangong Aoi's face was extremely gloomy. Nangong Aochen was his most beloved son, and he wanted to forcibly detain Bailey Hongzhuang countless times. However, when he thought of Di Beichen's identity, he felt helplessness. With the status as young master of the Tiangang sect, he really couldn't afford to offend. Otherwise, once Di Beichen got angry, the whole royal family might be implicated. He can't afford this cost. It's just that as he watched the increasingly emaciated figure of Nangong Aochen, his mood plummeted. Who would have thought that as the emperor of a kingdom, he would be so helpless? Once Bailey Hongzhuang leaves, he will have no recourse. Thinking of this, Nangong Aoi was about to collapse. He kept thinking of ways if he couldn't seize this opportunity, then it would really be over. Between rivals in love, confrontation just as Di Beichen sent people to prepare to leave. Mo Yunjua also arrived at the inn. Upon seeing Mo Yunjua again, Di Beichen's expression was more indifferent compared to before. He is not a man lacking in self-confidence. On the contrary, he has absolute confidence in his own abilities. Earlier, it was just Mo Yunjua's sudden appearance that caught him off guard, which disoriented him a little. Bailey Hongzhuang had undoubtedly reassured him, so he had become more open and frank. Upon seeing Mo Yunjue, Xia Jiqing and the others smiled. Since coming to Qingshao Kingdom, Mo Yunjue has helped them a lot, especially when he went against the royal family for them, but to be precise, for Bailey Hongzhuang. It is precisely because Mo Yunjue has feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang that everyone's expressions were somewhat strange. After all, they were all very clear about the relationship between Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. When love rivals meet, extremely jealousy appears. Regardless of whether it is Di Beichen or Mo Yunjue, they all think they are both good people. This situation can only be resolved on their own. Are you leaving tomorrow? Mo Yunjue, dressed in black, was restrained yet handsome, with a hint of casualness in his indifferent expression. He asked Di Beichen without a hint of embarrassment. Di Beichen's attitude was equally indifferent. Yes, we have stayed in Qingshao Kingdom for a while, and it's time to leave. Has Hongzhuang's injuries recovered? Mo Yunjue asked. According to what he saw that day, it would take a while for Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries to recover. No, fully, but she has more than halfway recovered. Xia Jiqing and others looked at each other in concern. They were worried that Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue might start fighting over a trivial matter. After all, everyone knows the identities of these two rivals in love. However, the current situation is clearly very different from what they had imagined. Both men were behaving very casually, as if they were just ordinary friends, which made them feel strange. I'm going to see Hongzhuang, Mo Yunjue said. Hearing this, Di Beichen's expression remained unchanged. He opened the door and walked into the room with Mo Yunjue. He has never been a stingy person. Mo Yunjue's help to Hongzhuang during this period is truly real, and he doesn't want Hongzhuang to feel that he is so petty. After Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue entered the room together, Xia Jiqing and the others exploded. Oh my goodness, I didn't expect that the attitudes towards each other would be so peaceful when they met. I was worried that they would get into a fight if they disagreed. Xia Jiqing patted her chest, her eyes full of worry. Zhang Yunfeng nodded deeply in agreement. I already knew something was wrong when Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue stood in front of Hongzhuang together that day. It was this calmness that surprised me the most. Cui Haoyan and Gong Shaoqing exchanged a glance. As men, they understood the real underlying situation. The calm between Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue was just a pretense. From the moment these two people met, a confrontational atmosphere had already taken hold. It's just that both of them can control their emotions and never show it. I don't think so. They have been comparing each other. Men care a lot about this kind of thing, said Bai Junyu slowly. As Bai Junyu's voice fell, Gong Shaoqing and Cui Haoyan also nodded. Bai Junyu was absolutely right. Are you worried about me? When Bailey Hongzhuang saw Moyanju, her exquisite and unparalleled beauty blossomed with a gentle and charming smile. She knew everything that Mo Yunjue had done and was very grateful to him. No matter what, Mo Yunjue's ability to do this for her was already a great act of kindness. If Mo Yunjue needed her help in the future, she would definitely not refuse. You've come, said Bailey Hongzhuang with a faint smile. Mo Yunjue nodded slightly, his gaze falling on Bailey Hongzhuang's no longer pale face. It seems that Bailey Hongzhuang had recovered quite well. Di Beichen sat down quietly on the side without speaking. This was the time for Bailey Hongzhuang to communicate with Mo Yunjue. Seeing that you're doing well puts my mind at ease. Mo Yunjue's eyebrows lifted slightly as a faint smile appeared on his face, but his deep black hole-like eyes shimmered with a complex and profound light. I heard that you will be leaving Qingshao Kingdom tomorrow? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head gently. We have stayed in Qingshao Kingdom for quite some time now. It's time to leave. It's better to leave earlier. Nangong Aochen's illness is getting worse and he probably won't be able to hold on for much longer. If you continue to stay here, there is the potential for danger. If you leave, you will have a brighter future. Mo Yunjue said slowly. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were deep and mysterious, and her beautiful and fair face showed a hint of worry. Aren't you going to leave Qingshao Kingdom? She didn't know what Mo Yunjua's identity was, but she could guess Mo Yunjua's identity would not be simple. Otherwise, Mo Yunjua wouldn't be able to stay safely in Qingshao Kingdom after what happened back then. Perhaps that was why she didn't feel much guilt towards Mo Yunjua. Are you worried about me? Mo Yunjua raised an eyebrow slightly and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. After hearing what Mo Yunjua said, Di Beichen behind him unconsciously clenched the right hand holding his teacup. This guy really doesn't know how to behave. Bailey Hongzhuang was also surprised, but still nodded and said, we are friends, so naturally I would care about you. Mo Yunjua had helped her so much, and she regards him as a respected friend. Now that Mo Yunjua is in danger, she would naturally be worried about him. Di Beichen quietly relaxed his hand holding the teacup, and the corners of his lips curled up in a happy arc. He just likes his Hongzhuang so much. The color of Mo Yunjua's eyes gradually changed, but his smile still showed a trace of lightheartedness. Don't worry, I will be fine. Bailey Hongzhuang deeply scrutinized Mo Yunjua with a glance. She could sense the confidence he had when he spoke those words. Thinking about it, what Mo Yunjua said was true. She really didn't need to worry. That's good. Thank you for your help. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. The dark-as-ink phoenix eyes shone with sincerity and clear gratitude, as she thanked him for his generous assistance. Without Mo Yunjua's help, the situation would have been even worse. Mo Yunjua stared at those pair of black, bright and clear eyes. His deep, boundless eyes flashed with a hint of emotional change. His beautiful, thin lips lifted slowly, exuding a hint of sexy wickedness. Mo Yunjua smiled lightly and said, okay. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled gently. Perhaps this friendship came about in a strange way, but it was real. I wish you a smooth journey, see you in the future. Mo Yunjua stood up slowly. His handsome and stern face exuded a sense of ease and indifference, but his final sentence was affirmative. Reborn Bailey Hongzhuang got up to see her off, but Mo Yunjua declined politely. Bailey Hongzhuang's current injury should be well cultivated, and she should move as little as possible. However, when Mo Yunjua turned to leave and passed by Di Beichen noticed Mo Yunjua's expression, and immediately walked out with Mo Yunjua. Xia Jiqing and the others outside the room had expressions of surprise when they saw Mo Yunjua and Di Beichen come out together, and walk downstairs without saying a word. Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua were completely incomprehensible to them. In theory, these two people should be like fire and water when they meet, but looking at the situation, it was completely different. After Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the room, she saw everyone gathered and her clear eyes filled with surprise. What are you all doing here? Xia Jiqing moved to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Hongzhuang, what did you say to Mo Yunjua? Nothing much, I just thanked him for helping us. Bailey Hongzhuang replied calmly. Xia Jiqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, but she couldn't detect any trace of dishonesty or concealment from Bailey Hongzhuang's frank gaze and attitude. It seems that they were overthinking things. I don't think the relationship between Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua is friendly. Now that the two of them have gone out together, could they be looking for a place to have a good fight? Zhang Yunfeng asked suspiciously. As Zhang Yunfeng finished speaking, Cui Haoyan, Gong Shaoqing, Dong Fengyu and Bai Junyu all laughed. Women's thinking is different from men's. They can feel the tension between Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua, but both of them are outstanding and it is unlikely for them to do something so irrational at this time. As for a beating, it may be possible in the future, but it is absolutely impossible now. You two don't need to worry about it. That kind of thing won't happen, said Cui Haoyan as he patted Zhang Yunfeng's little head and chuckled in amusement. Zhang Yunfeng and Xia Jiqing looked at each other. They didn't understand what the four men were laughing at. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on Dong Fengyu, and she clearly saw a completely different attitude coming from him. It was as if he had been completely reborn. His energy and spirit had improved. Obviously, Dong Fengyu had recovered from the previous setback, becoming more active, more motivated and mentally resilient. As the mentor said, as long as Dong Fengyu can bounce back from this setback, he will become a brand new Dongfang Yu, which will be of great benefit to his future. Obviously, Dongfang Yu has already felt these benefits. Dongfang Yu, have you fully recovered? Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black, bright, beautiful eyes flickered with a gleam of surprise as she smiled brightly. Dongfang Yu nodded slightly, his eyes bright like stars. I'm fine now. You all worried about me. As long as you're okay, that's good. Your temperament has also changed, said Bailey Hongzhuang with a light smile. A change in a person's heart can also lead to a certain change in their appearance. As Bailey Hongzhuang said this, Xia Jiqing nodded repeatedly. Yes, I also feel that Dongfang Yu has become even more handsome than before. This time, Dongfang Yu is probably going to attract even more screams from the junior sisters when he goes back, haha. Zhang Yunfeng chuckled lightly. Although they had experienced various risks during their trip to Qingshao Kingdom, the final outcome was not bad. Failure. Han Xiling, Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue walked out of the inn without saying a word. Neither of them was in a hurry. Di Beichen knew that Mo Yunjue had something to say to him, but he didn't know what it was. The two walked all the way to the first floor. And after Di Beichen followed Mo Yunjue into the private room, he spoke up. You can just tell me what's going on. Looking at Di Beichen's calm appearance, Mo Yunjue had a faint smile on his lips, but his deep black eyes had quietly become a bit cold. Di Beichen, since you want to be with Hongzhuang, then take good care of her and don't let her fall into danger. Di Beichen raised an eyebrow and said, Don't worry, such a thing won't happen again. He had already secretly vowed that he would never let such a thing happen again. Thinking that he might have arrived too late this time and Bailey Hongzhuang might have left him forever, he felt an indescribable suffocation. He couldn't afford such a price, so this was the only and last time. Listening to Di Beichen's words, Mo Yunjue sneered. It seems that Hongzhuang hasn't told you about that matter yet. After Mo Yunjue's statement, Di Beichen couldn't help but furrow his handsome brows. What do you mean? Mo Yunjue looked at Di Beichen and said, I know you are always excellent, but sometimes it's not a good thing. Please explain clearly what exactly happened. Di Beichen's expression slightly condensed. He understood that Mo Yunjue was not speaking nonsense and had a purpose behind his words. So, what else happened during his absence? Bailey Hongzhuang had never mentioned this matter to him. What kind of thing could it be? I've said before that Han Xiling's appearance is your downfall. If you can't handle Han Xiling well, I might be able to snatch away Hongzhuang from you. Mo Yunjue spoke slowly. He understood that Bailey Hongzhuang's feelings for Di Beichen, so he wouldn't interfere. However, if Di Beichen is not good enough to Bailey Hongzhuang, then he would not be polite. As soon as these words came out, Di Beichen had already discovered some clues. The last time he saw Mo Yunjue, he also mentioned Han Xiling to him, but he didn't take it to heart, and just thought it was something Mo Yunjue casually mentioned. After all, he and Han Xiling had always been praised by everyone as a match made in heaven. Seems that things were not that simple. Han Xiling has already made a move, and she didn't hesitate to use the people of the Heaven Slayer House one to strike. Moreover, she sent 2 groups of assassins at once. Obviously, she is determined to get rid of Bailey Hongzhuang. Mo Yunjue's deep voice was vigilant. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't mention it because she didn't want to embarrass Di Beichen, but he would not let Bailey Hongzhuang suffer such grievances. There was a layer of waves in the handsome eyes as deep as the sea, but Di Beichen's heart was full of shock and turmoil. If Mo Yunjue hadn't told him this news, he might not know when he would find out. He didn't doubt what Mo Yunjue said, because there was no need for Mo Yunjue to deceive him. Are you sure it's Han Xiling? Are you sure it's Han Xiling? Di Beichen spoke slowly, thinking of his former junior sister, and a difficult-to-express emotion welled up in his heart. Mo Yunjue chuckled. Whether you believe it or not is up to you, but if you can't even handle this kind of problem, I think you might as well let go. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.